Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Facts channel. Tonight, we drift together through the quiet wonder of our home world, a planet that has been breathing in the dark for over 4 billion years. You are floating now above the slow pulse of a living sphere, a world wrapped in oceans, clouds, and light. Every heartbeat, every whisper of wind, every grain of sand is part of the same rhythm that began long before memory. So take a slow breath in and let it go. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your mind soften into stillness. For a while, there is nothing you need to do but listen as the Earth tells her story. When seen from space, the planet does not seem loud or restless. It turns in near-perfect silence, a marble of color suspended in the black. The thin blue curve of atmosphere glows like the edge of a dream, while white storms wander across the oceans in slow spirals. Sunlight glints from waves and deserts, catching the motion of air and cloud, making everything shimmer with quiet life. This is the same view that astronauts describe with tears in their eyes, not because of its grandeur, but because of its gentleness. From out there, Earth looks fragile, tender, almost shy. It feels alive, yet impossibly peaceful. And somehow, you can feel that same peace from right where you are now, lying in your bed, breathing with the rhythm of the world beneath you. Every sound that reaches your ears, the hum of air, the faint shifting of fabric, the distant murmur of the night is part of Earth's long lullaby. Even in stillness, the planet is moving. Beneath your feet, entire continents are drifting a few centimeters every year. Beneath them, molten rock flows in slow tides of pressure and time. The oceans are turning, the atmosphere is rising and falling, and the magnetic field is whispering its invisible lines through every atom of air. All of it happens without hurry, without noise. This is the language of balance, gravity, and sunlight, water and stone, endlessly exchanging energy in a circle, so vast and patient that it feels eternal. Long before life began to breathe, the Earth was already a symphony of elements, swirling in silence. Hydrogen and oxygen, born in ancient stars, came together to form water, the softest, most persistent sculptor of worlds. Rain fell on stone and carved the first valleys. Wind gathered grains of dust and built dunes that marched across empty plains. Volcanoes erupted, cooling into mountains that would crumble and rise again. And still, the planet turned, always turning. Over billions of years, this quiet persistence created a home not just for the strong or the fast, but for everything that could feel the warmth of sunlight or the touch of air. Now, in this moment, you are part of that same story. The air entering your lungs was once inside leaves, inside oceans, even inside the breath of ancient animals. The calcium in your bones came from the shells of long-forgotten sea creatures. The water that runs through your veins once rippled across the surface of meteorites. Before falling here as rain, you are not separate from the Earth. You are made of it. Every atom that you are has traveled through stars and soil and sky to arrive here, arranged in this gentle, living form. In a way, when you breathe, the Earth is breathing with you. The night around you hums with quiet life. In the forests, roots trade signals beneath the soil, passing nutrients and information like a slow conversation. The ocean is glowing in places where tiny plankton release light as they move, painting the waves with pale blue sparks. Even mountains move their stones, expanding and contracting with temperature, sighing with the breath of day and night. Nothing is ever truly still. Everything is softly alive, even in darkness. When you think of the ground beneath you, imagine it not as solid, but as a slow river of rock flowing through time. The crust you stand on is thinner than an eggshell compared to the planet's size. Below it, the mantle drifts like honey under unimaginable pressure. Heat left over from the planet's birth still moves upward through that hidden sea, feeding volcanoes and warming deep oceans. Even now, as you rest, that heat travels upward, a reminder that the planet's heart is still glowing, still alive, after billions of years. Look upward now, in your mind's eye. Above you, the atmosphere extends only a few dozen miles before fading into space. Yet, within that slender veil, all weather, breath, and color exist. The sky's blue comes from sunlight scattering through air molecules, shorter wavelengths bouncing more than long ones, painting the heavens with calm. At sunset, the angle changes and the sky glows amber and rose, the day slowly dissolving into night. Each hue is not merely a trick of light. It is a conversation between the sun and the air, a delicate balancing act between physics and beauty. If you could listen closely to the earth itself, you would hear that it hums a constant vibration too deep for human ears, caused by waves rolling across oceans and air pressing on land. Scientists call it the Earth's microsystem, a whisper of the planet's own pulse. It never stops. It is the slowest heartbeat in existence, steady and eternal. That sound, though inaudible, is passing through you now. You are part of it, carried along in its rhythm, as natural as breathing. Sometimes we think of Earth as still and predictable. Yet even now, the magnetic poles are drifting. They wander slowly, a few miles each year, guided by the swirling iron currents at the planet's core. This invisible field reaches far beyond the clouds, wrapping the planet in protection, deflecting solar winds and cosmic rays. Without it, the atmosphere would have long ago been stripped away, the oceans lost to space. It is another kind of cradle, one made not of matter, but of magnetism. You cannot see it, but it watches over every life that has ever bloomed beneath it. And then there is light. Every morning, the sun's first rays bend through the atmosphere, warming the side of the planet that has turned once more to face it. At any given moment, half the world rests in sunlight, while the other half sleeps in shade. This balance, this turning between day and night, is older than memory. The planet spins gently, cradling all its living things in alternating waves of warmth and coolness. Somewhere, always, dawn is breaking. Somewhere, always, the first bird is beginning to sing. And somewhere else, at the same instant, another song is ending as the stars appear. Even the stars, far and cold as they seem, have shaped this world. The iron in your blood was forged in their hearts, the gold in your bones from their deaths. Every mountain, every drop of water, every breath of air carries the memory of something once cosmic. Earth is not a separate place from the universe. It is the universe made gentle, made habitable, made home. So let yourself rest in that thought. You are lying within a planet that drifts through space, yet feels utterly still. The air around you has circled the world countless times. The same winds that once brushed the surface of ancient seas now cool your skin. Every molecule, every grain of dust, every pulse of warmth is shared, not owned, not lost, just passed along in endless continuity. As you breathe, you are connected to it all, to the deep roots of forests, to the stones that once were mountains, to the clouds that wander the skies. The rhythm of your heart matches the rhythm of the tides, the slow expansion and contraction of a living world. The earth hums beneath you, the stars glow above, and between them lies you, a small, miraculous fragment of the same great pattern. And now, as the edges of wakefulness blur, allow that thought to carry you into rest. The earth is turning gently, holding you in its gravity, wrapping you in air and warmth. You do not need to hold on. You are already part of everything. The planet keeps moving, the oceans keep breathing, and you can let go. For tonight, the earth will keep time for you. 1. Earth's age and calm persistence. long before the first dawn, before oceans found their shores and mountains learned to rise. The Earth was a swirl of dust circling a young and brilliant sun. Imagine it, a cloud of minerals, gases, and frozen fragments of older worlds, all drifting in silence through the newborn solar system. Over time, gravity drew those fragments together, piece by piece, heat building until stone itself began to glow. Out of that fiery union, our planet was born, not in a moment, but in a long, slow becoming. In that ancient darkness, molten oceans shimmered where land would someday rest, and the first outline of a home began to take shape. 4.5 billion years have passed since that beginning, yet the planet's heart still beats with the same internal warmth. A reminder that creation is not an event, but an ongoing whisper. If you could have stood on the early Earth, there would have been no air to breathe, no sky to see. The surface was chaos, liquid rock, churning under a red horizon. The air thick with steam and fire. Meteorites rained down, each impact reshaping the land before it could even cool. Yet through that violent infancy, the world was already calming itself. The heaviest elements sank inward to form the core, while lighter minerals floated upward to form the crust, a delicate skin on a sea of magma. Slowly, water vapor condensed and began to fall as rain, and it rained for thousands of years, filling the basins of the world, creating the first oceans. When the storms finally cleared, the Earth was wrapped in mist and light. The air shimmered with volcanic dust, and beneath it stretched the first true horizon, a quiet blue, endless and new. Even then, the planet's patience was apparent. Nothing about Earth's creation happened quickly. The cooling of its surface took millions of years. The shaping of continents took hundreds of millions more. In that time, the Moon was born, a fragment of the planet itself, thrown into orbit by a colossal impact. The Moon steadied Earth's wobble and slowed its spin, bringing rhythm to its days. The first tides began to move, rocking the newborn seas back and forth in a gentle, ceaseless cradle. The world's first lullaby was written then, long before life, long before time had meaning. It was simply the rhythm of water and gravity, the slow heartbeat of a planet learning to breathe. Geologists call Earth 4.5 billion years old, but even that number cannot capture what age feels like here. It is not the ticking of a clock, but the deep, unhurried measure of transformation. Mountains rise, crumble, and rise again. Rivers carve paths so slowly that even stone learns to flow. Every moment of your life, every second of every century, fits inside a heartbeat of Earth's memory. The planet has known entire worlds before ours, and it will know others after. Yet somehow, in this vast expanse of time, it feels alive, aware, and balanced. Its persistence is not harsh or mechanical. It is gentle, the way a tree persists, or a tide. It endures by adapting, by changing shape without losing its center. The rocks beneath your feet are older than history. Some have seen the first appearance of oceans. Others hold fossils of creatures that once swam through forgotten seas. Each layer of sediment is a page of a story, written not in words, but in minerals, slow sentences composed of time and pressure. When scientists look into these stones, they find traces of a world that once shimmered with different colors, smelled of sulfur and salt, and hummed with the slow chemistry that would one day create life. Within those silent layers lie the clues of evolution, extinction, and renewal. The Earth remembers everything, though it never speaks. It keeps its memories in the deep quiet of stone, in the texture of mountains, and the smoothness of riverbeds. What is most remarkable is that through all its changes, through impacts, ice ages, and extinctions, the Earth never lost its composure. It kept orbiting the Sun with perfect steadiness, tilting at just the right angle to allow warmth and cold to trade places. This small tilt, barely noticeable, gave birth to seasons, migration, and the rhythm of all living things. Even destruction became part of creation. Volcanic eruptions, recycled minerals, glaciers carved valleys that filled with rivers, and fallen forests turned into fertile soil. There was never chaos for chaos's sake, only a balance too vast for the moment to perceive. If you could listen closely enough, you might hear it, not the noise of the world, but its patience. Beneath the hum of human life, the earth moves on in slow motion. Its outer shell drifts over the mantle like rafts on molten seas. Entire continents glide toward one another, forming mountains that scrape the sky. The Himalayas, tall and eternal as they seem, are still rising by a fraction of an inch each year. It is the planet's way of breathing, exhaling continents and inhaling oceans, trading forms over eons. Nothing on Earth stands still for long. What feels permanent is simply slow. Even the ground you sleep upon tonight is migrating quietly, millimeter by millimeter, toward a future shore. When we speak of age, we often imagine decline, but the Earth's age is not decay, it is refinement. Each era polishes the next, carving rough stone into smoother forms. The planet has learned to host complexity. It has learned to soften extremes. Once covered in fire, it now carries forests, rivers, and breath. The same materials that once melted and burned have become leaves, seas, and living hands. The age of Earth is a testament to endurance, not through resistance, but through surrender. It allows itself to be shaped, eroded, and renewed. This is why mountains fold gently, why rivers curve instead of cutting straight lines, why even lightning follows paths of least resistance. The planet knows, in its own way, that peace lies in flowing, not fighting. Every living being on Earth carries the memory of this ancient patience. The cycles within your body, your heartbeat, your breath, your sleeping and waking mirror the planet's own rhythms. Your pulse echoes the slow rise and fall of tides. Your lungs expand and contract like the atmosphere itself. Even your thoughts move in patterns shaped by day and night, warmth and coolness, light and dark. You are not separate from the planet's persistence. You are one of its continuations. When you feel tired, it is simply your body remembering that the Earth also rests, turning endlessly, yet always balanced between motion and stillness. When you look up at the stars, remember that the Earth has been doing the same for billions of years. The sky it reflects is not a stranger's sky, it is part of the same vast story that birthed this planet. The same cosmic dust that formed the world now burns quietly as starlight. The same gravity that holds the moon in its orbit holds you in sleep. The age of the Earth is not a distant, abstract number. It is the quiet, steady rhythm beneath everything you touch. It is in the coolness of stone, the warmth of sunlight, the calm in your breath. It is the feeling of belonging to something that has endured everything and still offers peace. As night settles, imagine the planet turning under you, continents sliding slowly eastward, oceans drifting west, clouds gliding across the curve of the world. You are carried effortlessly through space at 1,000 miles per hour, yet it feels like stillness. That is the secret of the Earth's persistence. Motion without rush, transformation without violence. It moves not because it must, but because moving is its way of being alive. Let your thoughts move like that now. Let them drift and swirl without force, reshaping quietly like tides against a shore. Feel the comfort of knowing that the same calm endurance that shaped the planet also lives in you. You are part of something ancient and unbreakable, the Earth's long exhale, the peace that has lasted since the beginning of time. And as your eyes grow heavy, remember, the planet beneath you has been here for billions of years, and it will continue to turn long after every storm has passed. It has seen darkness before, and always found light again. It has slept beneath ice and woken to warmth. It has fallen silent and then sung with rain. The earth endures, not with noise, but with grace. The same grace that now invites you to rest. So breathe slowly, deeply, gently, and let the age of the world cradle you into sleep. 2. The thin blue atmosphere. Far above the ground where you stand, there is a veil, so delicate it could almost be mistaken for nothing at all. And yet, it is everything. It is the reason your lungs fill with breath, the reason the sky burns blue in the day and glows gold at dusk. It is the shield that softens sunlight, the blanket that holds warmth close to the surface, the invisible film that separates the world of life from the silent emptiness of space. This thin blue atmosphere, just a fragile wisp of gases clinging to a spinning rock, is one of the most extraordinary miracles our planet has ever crafted. If the Earth were the size of an apple, the entire atmosphere would be thinner than the fruit's skin. Within that slender layer lies every sound, every breeze, every cloud, every scent that has ever existed. It is so thin that a single climb into the sky can change its entire character. At sea level, it is thick and comforting, pressing gently upon you with the weight of air. Climb a mountain, and it thins to clarity, cold and light. Rise higher still, and it fades to nothing. The difference between lifelessness is only a few dozen miles of air, suspended between gravity and sunlight. This air is ancient. Every breath you take has been breathed before by forests, by oceans, by creatures long vanished from the earth. The oxygen in your lungs may once have passed through the feathers of a bird, the leaves of a tree, the fins of a fish swimming through coral seas millions of years ago. The carbon dioxide you exhale will be caught by a blade of grass, drawn down through its green cells, and turned back into oxygen again. In this way, life is not just surrounded by air, it is part of the air, woven into the same invisible circle of exchange that has continued for billions of years without ever stopping. The first atmosphere of Earth was not gentle or blue. It was made of fire and poison, carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, sulfur. It would have smelled of volcanic smoke, metallic and sharp, and it would have choked anything that tried to breathe. But time softened it. Rain cooled the surface. Sunlight broke down the gases. And when microscopic life appeared in the oceans, everything changed. Tiny cells learned to use sunlight to split water and release oxygen. Slowly, across millions of years, they filled the air with a new kind of breath. The sky turned from red to gold to the deep calm of blue. That transformation, patient, steady, unseen, was one of the greatest acts of renewal the planet has ever known. Now, this atmosphere is a perfect balance. About 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and small traces of everything else: argon, carbon dioxide, neon, water vapor, and the quiet fingerprints of life itself. It is thin enough to let sunlight through, but thick enough to trap heat. It bends light, scatters color, and carries sound. Every sunset you have ever watched, every breeze that has ever brushed your skin, every echo, every song, all are born within this narrow band of air. It is both the planet's voice, its memory. During the day, sunlight scatters off the molecules of nitrogen and oxygen, sending shorter blue wavelengths dancing in every direction. This scattering fills the dome of the sky with color so calm it feels eternal. Yet at night, that same sky turns transparent again, revealing the stars beyond. What you are seeing then is the absence of scattering, the true face of the universe peering through the open window of air. And so, the atmosphere performs a quiet duality. It hides the cosmos by day and reveals it by night. Every cloud that drifts above you is a temporary sculpture of this air. Vapor condenses into droplets, carried aloft by invisible currents of heat. A single cumulus cloud can weigh thousands of tons, yet floats effortlessly because the air beneath it is warm and rising. When light passes through these clouds, it diffuses into gold and pink, scattering softly across the horizon. When the clouds vanish, the air clears like glass. But even in the stillest moment, it is never motionless. Molecules are constantly in motion, colliding, rising, falling, creating wind, pressure, and the endless shifting patterns we call weather. The atmosphere's movement is a dance between heat and balance. Sunlight warms the equator more than the poles, setting air in motion as it rises, cools, and sinks again in wide, graceful loops that circle the planet. These slow rivers of air shape every climate, from the whisper of a summer breeze to the fury of a winter storm. The winds that touch your face may have begun days ago over a faraway ocean. They carry with them tiny grains of dust, the scent of salt, the faint echo of waves. The air around you is always a traveler, carrying stories from every corner of the world. High above the clouds lies a region few ever see, the stratosphere, where the air grows thin and cold, and where a thin layer of ozone absorbs the sun's harsh ultraviolet rays. Without it, life would burn. It is a fragile shield, renewed constantly by chemistry and light, a guardian we rarely think about but owe everything to. Above that lies the mesosphere, the thermosphere, and then the exosphere, where atoms drift into space one by one. At that height, there is no clear boundary between Earth and the cosmos. The planet simply fades away, whispering into the dark. And yet, this thin veil manages to hold warmth against the cold vacuum. Every day, sunlight streams in, and every night, the planet radiates heat back out. Greenhouse gases, water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane catch part of that warmth, sending it back toward the surface. It is this natural greenhouse effect that keeps Earth's oceans liquid and its forests alive. Without it, the world would freeze beneath endless ice, too much, and it would suffocate in heat. The balance is precise, fragile, and vital, a quiet tension between energy and loss, light and shadow. Even now, as you breathe, the air around you is alive with sound you cannot hear. Waves of pressure ripple through it, the low hum of distant oceans, the faint sigh of wind through trees, the rhythmic pulse of the planet's own vibration. Instruments have recorded this background noise, a faint, continuous murmur that never ceases. The atmosphere sings in its own way, a lullaby of motion and resonance. Every gust, every sigh of breeze, every soft rustle in the night is part of that song. If you were to leave this world and look back from orbit, you would see the atmosphere as a pale halo encircling the planet, a shimmering blue that fades into black. It glows faintly, even in darkness, with a phenomenon called airglow. High in the upper atmosphere, oxygen and nitrogen atoms absorb sunlight by day and release it at night, emitting a faint green and red light. From above, it looks like the Earth is wrapped in a living aura, breathing softly against the velvet of space. It is a reminder that even darkness here is never absolute. There is always a gentle radiance, the Earth's quiet heartbeat shining outward. When you inhale, think of this. The air entering your body is billions of years old. It has drifted through forests, oceans, glaciers, and storms. It has circled the planet countless times, been warmed by desert suns, and cooled by polar nights. You are sharing the same breath that once moved through ancient jungles and across the plains of the first civilizations. The atmosphere is not something you exist within. It is something that exists within you. You are breathing the memory of the Earth itself. At night, when the air cools and the world grows still, the atmosphere folds itself into layers of calm. Breezes fade, temperatures equalize, and the surface radiates its warmth into the open sky. This is when the planet rests, when the air grows heavy with dew and silence. In those hours, the boundary between earth and sky seems to dissolve. You can almost feel the air breathing with you, expanding and contracting with the same rhythm as your chest. The next time you gaze at the horizon, remember how narrow this world's shelter truly is, a mere shimmer of gas between stone and space. Yet within it thrives everything we know: laughter, music, rain, fire, and dream. The thin blue atmosphere holds all of it. It is not simply air, it is the tender skin of the planet, the breath of every living thing, the invisible ocean through which we swim. It is the most fragile and the most forgiving of all Earth's miracles, and it wraps around you now, quietly, endlessly, keeping you safe as you drift deeper into sleep. 3. The music of the oceans. If you close your eyes tonight and listen carefully, you may hear something older than memory itself. Beneath the hush of wind and the faint hum of the world around you lies another sound, deep, slow, and endless. It is the voice of the oceans, the quiet breathing of the planet. Every wave that folds against a distant shore, every current that sweeps beneath the surface, every rising and falling tide joins into one vast, unbroken chorus. The sea does not sing in words, yet its music shapes everything that lives. It is the rhythm of gravity, moonlight, and time, humming softly through every living thing. The oceans cover more than 2/3 of Earth's surface, stretching farther than the eye or imagination can travel. From orbit, they shimmer like liquid glass, reflecting the color of the sky. But beneath that calm surface, the water moves with quiet purpose, not just in waves, but in layers, spirals, and hidden rivers. Whole continents of water slide past each other in the dark, carrying warmth from the equator to the poles, balancing the planet's temperature as gently as a sleeping breath. Every gust of wind above them, every pull of the moon, sends ripples through this vast body, until it seems that the entire Earth is swaying in its sleep. If you could stand on the ocean floor, miles beneath the light, you would still feel this, down there. The pressure is so immense that the water presses like stone, and the darkness is complete. Yet even here, in the quietest depths, the sea is alive with sound. Low-frequency waves, born from storms and earthquakes thousands of miles away, travel through the deep as vibrations that never fade. Scientists call this the ocean's sound channel, a layer where sound can travel around the planet for days without losing its strength. Through this deep pathway, the Earth hums to itself, carrying whispers from continent to continent. It is as if the planet has its own bloodstream of sound, pulsing with a rhythm as steady as the tides. Above, where sunlight filters through the surface, another music begins, brighter, lighter, almost playful. Waves collide and collapse in endless patterns, creating harmonies of foam and air. Each crash on the shore releases a brief sigh of bubbles that burst and hiss like wind through reeds. When thousands of these tiny sounds merge together, they create a continuous tone that seems to hang in the air, soft but immense. To the human ear, it is the sound of calm, yet beneath it lies the full physics of the world. Energy transformed into motion, motion into sound, and sound into memory. If you listen to recordings made deep under the sea, you can hear what scientists call the Earth's heartbeat, faint, repeating pulses caused by waves pounding the coasts. These low vibrations merge into what is known as the microsystem, a constant hum that can even be detected by sensitive instruments on land. It is the ocean's music turned into the planet's own background rhythm. Every beach, every wave, every tide adds its note to the symphony. It never stops. Even when storms are silent, the sea continues to breathe. The ocean's song changes with the weather, In calm conditions, its tone is smooth and soft, a lullaby of gentle swells rolling across miles of open water. But when winds rise and pressure shifts, that song grows rougher. Waves tower and collapse, their voices echoing like distant thunder. Rain adds its own percussion, striking the surface in patterns of rhythm and grace. Lightning flashes and sound rolls through the water, muted but clear. Even under chaos, the ocean never loses its cadence, it simply grows more complex, as if the planet itself were improvising. In the shallows near coral reefs, the music changes again. Here, millions of small lives contribute their own tones. The clicks of shrimp, the croaks of fish, the gentle rasp of sea urchins feeding among the rocks. To swim through a reef is to drift through an underwater orchestra. The sound may seem random, but it follows a pattern: daytime filled with bright, rapid chatter, nighttime slower and lower as creatures rest. Scientists have discovered that baby fish can hear these sounds from miles away, using them to find their way home. The reef calls to them through vibration, a mother's whisper in the dark. Farther out, in the deep open sea, the giants add their voices. Whales sing songs that can travel hundreds of miles long, slow notes that stretch across time. Each species has its own melody, passed from generation to generation. Humpbacks compose intricate sequences that evolve year by year, as if the entire species were part of one vast musical tradition. These songs are not just communication. They are the ocean remembering itself through sound. When a whale sings, the vibrations spread through miles of water, bouncing off continental shelves, mixing with echoes of other singers, until the whole sea seems to shimmer with harmony. Even the smallest drop of seawater participates in this chorus. It holds dissolved gases that fizz and release faint notes as bubbles rise and burst. When sunlight warms the surface, it triggers minute reactions that hum quietly in frequencies too high for our ears. The result is an invisible, layered music, not a melody we can sing, but one the world feels. The air, the waves, the creatures, the tides, all contribute their verses to the same endless hymn. At night, the ocean glows. Tiny organisms, known as plankton, release bioluminescent light when stirred, illuminating the waves in streaks of blue and green. When these lights appear, they often move in rhythm with the waves, pulsing as if in time with an unseen beat. This glow is silent to the ear, yet it feels like part of the same symphony. Light as a form of sound, energy transformed into beauty. Sailors once called it the sea's breath made visible. To float among those glowing tides is to witness the planet dreaming, its music turned into light. Deep below, near volcanic vents, the song grows stranger still. Here, where magma meets seawater, heat creates currents and plumes that crackle and hiss. Mineral-rich water bursts upward, cooling into towers of black smoke. The sound of these vents, low, rumbling, constant, is the oldest kind of music the earth knows. It is the echo of its own creation, the memory of fire meeting water. Around those vents, life thrives where none should. Creatures glowing and strange, feeding on the chemistry of the earth's breath. They live by the music of the planet's heart. The ocean's role is not only to sing, but to hold balance. Every wave that crashes is also shaping the land, carrying sand from one place to another, building beaches, smoothing stones. Every current transfers heat from one hemisphere to the other, keeping the climate steady. The ocean moderates the heartbeat of the world. Without it, days would scorch and nights would freeze. Its sound, its rhythm, its motion are all forms of the same truth. The sea is the planet's memory, moving endlessly but never lost. And though we live above it, we are made of it. The salt in your blood is the same salt that drifts in seawater. The rhythm of your heartbeat matches the rhythm of the waves. Your body carries the echo of the seawater, tides. inherited through eons of evolution. When you listen to the ocean, whether standing at the shore or hearing its faint whisper in your imagination, you are hearing a memory of yourself, a sound written into your bones before you were born. Now, as night deepens, imagine that sound wrapping around you. Picture waves moving in the dark, miles and miles away, folding and unfolding beneath the moon. Each motion is gentle, patient, inevitable. The sea is not rushing anywhere. It is simply existing, breathing, continuing. It has been doing so for 4 billion years, and it will go on long after every storm has passed. So breathe with it now. Inhale as the tide comes in. Exhale as it drifts away. Feel the calm rhythm of water beneath the world, carrying your thoughts out to sea and returning them as peace. The ocean's music is the oldest lullaby on earth, vast, wordless, eternal. And tonight, it plays just for you. 4. The Earth's subtle glow. If you were to drift far above the world, beyond the final touch of cloud and air, and look down, you would see something remarkable. The Earth softly shining, not blazing like the sun or glittering like the stars, but glowing with a quiet, living light. From space, it is not the dark, cold sphere of rock one might imagine, but a breathing, luminous world wrapped in a faint halo of color. It glows in blues and greens and golds, not because of anything artificial, but because light and life are endlessly reflecting one another here. This gentle brightness is the planet's own aura, the sum of its oceans, clouds, and air whispering back the sunlight that gave them birth. It is the Earth's subtle glow, its perpetual candle in the dark. Even when half the world sleeps beneath the night, that glow remains. The dark side of Earth is not truly dark. The atmosphere high above still shimmers with something called airglow, a faint, natural light created as atoms in the upper atmosphere absorb the day's sunlight and slowly release it again through the night. Most cannot see it from the ground, but from orbit, it is breathtaking. A delicate ribbon of green and red encircling the planet, tracing its curve like a halo. It's as if the world keeps some of the day for itself, letting it fade slowly rather than vanish. This faint radiance speaks of patience, of the planet's reluctance to surrender completely to shadow. Even in darkness, Earth remembers the sun. This glow is not constant. It flickers, dances, and breathes with the atmosphere. When particles from the solar wind brush against Earth's magnetic field, they slip down toward the poles and ignite the auroras, those swirling curtains of light that ripple across the polar sky. They are among nature's most astonishing spectacles, yet they are not rare to the universe. What makes Earth's auroras unique is their tenderness. The colors emerald green, violet, rose, and blue are born from oxygen and nitrogen colliding with solar energy. Each flicker is a dialogue between the Earth and the sun, between magnetism and light, between protection and beauty. What could have been a storm of destruction becomes a dance instead, painted across the upper air for anyone awake enough to look. The auroras are not just decoration, they are the living edges of the planet's shield. Every moment, Earth is bombarded by invisible particles streaming from the sun, relics of ancient explosions across its fiery surface. These could strip away an atmosphere, erasing oceans and air, as has happened to other planets. But here, deep beneath our feet, the molten iron core spins and flows, generating a magnetic field that bends those particles aside. Where they meet, they light the sky. That soft radiance is not only beauty, it is evidence of safety, of balance preserved. The glow above the poles is the visible edge of the planet's protection, a shield turned into art. The glow of Earth is also reflected from below. When sunlight touches the oceans, the water does not keep it. It scatters and returns it upward in all directions, filling the air with diffused light that paints the sky blue. Clouds, too, catch sunlight and throw it back as white brilliance, their brightness so intense that astronauts describe the cloud tops as almost blinding. At sunset, the light passes through more atmosphere, bending and scattering into gold, orange, and rose, the planet's own evening sigh. When night falls and the last warmth fades, the oceans release their stored light as heat, radiating infrared waves invisible to human eyes. The Earth glows in every spectrum, some seen, some hidden, all woven into a single luminous harmony. In the depths of the sea, another kind of glow waits, one born not of sunlight, but of life itself. Tiny plankton drift near the surface, releasing bursts of bioluminescence when disturbed. A passing wave, a swimming fish, even the brush of a breeze can set them alight, turning the ocean into a shifting constellation. At night, sailors see it trail behind their ships like spilled stars. Each spark comes from a chemical reaction, luciferin meeting oxygen within the cells of microscopic organisms. But when seen from a distance, it feels like magic. Beneath the moon, the water glows with ghostly blue light, as though the sea itself remembers the day and refuses to darken. This is the Earth's softest glow, living light, born of creatures so small they are almost invisible, yet together capable of illuminating entire bays and coasts. This bioluminescence is everywhere once you begin to notice it. Some fish carry lanterns beneath their eyes. Certain jellyfish pulse with slow internal fire. Deep-sea creatures, living where sunlight never reaches, have evolved to produce their own light, painting the abyss with tiny galaxies of blue and green. It is a reminder that even in the places where darkness seems absolute, the Earth finds a way to shine. It is never fully dark here. Even in the most secret depths, there is still light, waiting quietly for eyes to see it. Above the oceans, the land glows too, though more subtly. In deserts at night, rocks still radiate the day's stored heat, creating waves of shimmering air that bend starlight and make horizons waver. In forests, the leaves glimmer with a thin film of dew that catches the moonlight. In the mountains, snow glows softly from within, as billions of tiny crystals reflect and refract every ray of light that touches them. Even in the absence of moon or star, the very dust in the atmosphere scatters faint light from distant galaxies. Every surface, every element, contributes to this quiet radiance. The Earth's glow is not the property of any one thing, it is the combined reflection of everything that has ever lived or formed here. There are other, hidden lights as well. Deep underground, minerals phosphoresce with the faintest green or violet hues, glowing for hours after sunlight fades. In the far deserts, invisible electric discharges flicker high above storms, red sprites and blue jets, lightning's ghostly cousins that light up the sky in silence. Even the ground beneath us emits a faint trace of radiation from ancient isotopes, the remnant warmth of the planet's fiery birth. The Earth is never truly dark. It carries within it the memory of fire, of starlight, of life, and it reveals those memories in whispers of luminescence. The human eye can only see a small part of this spectrum, but instruments have shown that the Earth shines in many colors we cannot perceive. In ultraviolet light, the atmosphere glimmers with fluorescence from nitrogen and oxygen. In infrared, the planet glows warmly from the heat of sunlit continents and oceans. Even radio waves reveal a kind of brightness, the hum of the magnetic field resonating with the solar wind. From afar, these layers of invisible light merge into one, forming a sphere of radiance so complex and subtle that it appears almost alive. And perhaps it is, for this glow, this constant interplay of light and shadow, is the outward expression of life itself. The oxygen in the air, produced by plants and algae, gives the sky its blue. The water in the oceans reflects the sun. The forests and clouds scatter and absorb the light. Each living thing changes the way the planet shines. When forests grow, the world's albedo shifts. When plankton bloom, they brighten the seas. When humans light their cities, the night side sparkles with constellations of gold and white. It is a reminder that we, too, have joined the Earth's luminous dance, adding our own flicker to its timeless glow. Sometimes, astronauts describe the Earth's light as emotional. From the quiet of space, they say it looks vulnerable, as though the glow itself were a living breath. It is neither blinding nor dim, but perfectly balanced, a soft, sustained brilliance against infinite black. To see it is to feel something ancient and protective, as if the universe has lit a small lamp and placed it in the darkness so that life could find its way. And every one of us, down here beneath that shimmering veil, is part of what makes that lamp burn. As you rest now, imagine that glow above you. Picture the atmosphere shimmering faintly with air glow, the oceans below glinting under the moon, the forests reflecting the faintest light of the stars. The entire planet hums softly with brightness, not loud, not fierce, but steady. You are part of that same light. The warmth in your body, the breath in your chest, the gentle electricity in every heartbeat, all belong to this global illumination. The Earth glows through you, and you, in turn, add to its glow. So let yourself fade into that light now, the way the horizon fades at dusk. The night may seem dark, but the planet is shining quietly beneath it. Its glow is patient, timeless, and kind, a lantern in the cosmic sea. As you drift into sleep, remember, you are lying upon a world that glows softly through every darkness, a home made of radiance and calm. Even when you close your eyes, the Earth is still shining. 5. The cradle of seasons. If you were to watch the Earth from afar, floating silently in the dark, you would see something subtle, yet extraordinary. The planet does not stand upright as it moves around the sun. It leans, tilting gently on its axis, about 23.5 degrees from perfect balance. This small inclination, so slight it could fit in the angle of your hand, is the reason for all the color, rhythm, and change that life has ever known. It is the source of our seasons, the slow-turning cradle that rocks the planet between warmth and cold, light and shadow, birth and rest. Without this tilt, the world would be fixed in monotony, every day the same, every landscape unchanging. But because Earth leans, it breathes. Because it tilts, it lives. In the long silence of space, this tilt becomes a kind of poetry. As Earth orbits the sun, one hemisphere leans toward the light, while the other drifts into shadow. Over the months, the balance shifts, and the light slides across the planet like a hand brushing over its surface. When the north is wrapped in the soft gold of summer, the south rests under the calm hush of winter. 6 months later, they trade places in a seamless exchange that has continued for billions of years. Every leaf that blooms, every bird that migrates, every tide that rises and falls, does so in answer to this ancient tilt. The Earth's slow wobble is the metronome of life. When the sun climbs high and the days stretch long, warmth spreads across the continents, trees awaken, rivers thaw, and light seems to linger even after sunset. This is the season of abundance, when energy pours freely from the sky and the planet responds with color. But beneath that surface joy, the world is preparing, building, storing, anticipating the inevitable retreat of light. Nothing lasts here without its opposite. The same angle that grants us summer also ensures the return of winter, when the air stills and the earth folds itself into quiet again. The seasons are not opposites in conflict, but partners in an endless exchange, each giving way to the other in perfect balance. This constant shifting of light and temperature may seem ordinary, but it governs everything. Animals time their migrations and births by it. Plants bloom, fruit, and rest according to it. Even the air and ocean currents take their cues from the planet's tilt. Warm air rises, cool air sinks, and the difference between them drives winds that encircle the globe. These winds, in turn, move the seas, stirring up nutrients, feeding coral reefs, and keeping the oceans from growing stagnant. Every cycle of growth and decay, every heartbeat of nature's rhythm, is tied to the Earth's gentle lean. Imagine a world without it, a planet spinning upright, its poles locked in eternal frost while its equator swelters under a constant sun. There would be no spring thaw, no autumn leaves, no migrations or monsoons, no harvests or hibernation. The air would still move, but without variation or vigor. The Earth would be trapped in sameness, a world without breath. Our planet's tilt, fragile as it seems, saves us from that stillness. It allows life to change, to adapt, to rest and renew. In its slow rhythm of turning, it teaches everything that exists how to flow instead of freeze. The seasons also shape us in ways we rarely notice. When daylight grows long, our bodies respond, waking earlier, feeling lighter. When darkness returns, we slow down, storing warmth, seeking comfort. Our own internal clocks are synchronized to the Earth's motion, bound to the same invisible rhythm that pulls tides and petals alike. Even our moods mirror the season's hope rising with the spring light, nostalgia deepening in autumn's cool. The tilt of the planet is written quietly into our thoughts, guiding us through our years the same way it guides the forests and the seas. Each season carries its own texture of sound and scent. In spring, the air smells of wet soil and beginnings. In summer, it hums with insects and warm rain. Autumn brings the crisp whisper of falling leaves, while winter stills everything into silence so deep it feels like reverence. These are not just changes in weather, they are the Earth speaking in time. The tilt creates not only the pattern of sunlight, but also the symphony of life that responds to it. Every rustle of grass, every ripple of migrating geese, every sigh of melting snow is part of the same quiet conversation between the planet and the sun. The moon, ever watchful, helps steady this rhythm. Its gravitational pull anchors the Earth's wobble, keeping the tilt from swinging too wildly over millennia. Without that lunar anchor, the planet's axis might drift and tumble, turning climate into chaos. Ice ages could come and go unpredictably, deserts could form overnight, and no creature could rely on the steady beat of seasons. The moon's gentle gravity acts like a hand on the Earth's shoulder, keeping it balanced as it sways through space. Even our most ancient rhythms depend on that distant companion. The tilt itself is not fixed. Over tens of thousands of years, it sways slightly, tracing a long, slow arc known as axial precession. When the tilt grows steeper, summers blaze hotter and winters deepen in cold. When it lessens, the seasons soften and ice spreads across the poles. These cycles, invisible within a lifetime, shape the rise and fall of entire ages. Ice sheets grow and melt, coastlines shift, forests migrate across continents. The Earth, like a living being, breathes in deep epochs. One inhalation lasting tens of millennia, one exhalation reshaping the world. And within that grand breath, we live our smaller seasons, the yearly turning that reminds us of impermanence, of return. Each spring carries the memory of all springs before it. Each autumn is the echo of every leaf that has ever fallen. The Earth never repeats itself exactly, yet it never forgets. Its tilt writes time not in hours, but in cycles. The same light, the same dark, endlessly recomposed into new patterns. The seasons are not just weather, they are the planet's memory made visible. At the equinox, when day and night balance perfectly for a fleeting moment, the world feels poised between opposites. It is as though the earth itself pauses, taking a breath before the next long turn. Ancient peoples marked these days with fire and song, aligning their temples to the sunrise, celebrating balance as a kind of holiness. They sensed, as we still do, that within this shifting cycle lies a message, that nothing, not even the planet, can stay still and remain alive. To live is to tilt, to move, to change. In winter's stillness, the sun lingers low, and the world sleeps beneath its weight. Snow glows faintly under starlight, rivers rest under sheets of glass, and silence stretches across the land. Yet even here, the seeds of spring wait beneath the frost, patient and unseen. The planet never truly stops, it only gathers itself. In time, the sun will return, and everything will rise once more thawed, renewed, alive. That promise has never been broken. For billions of years, the earth has kept its rhythm, turning gently, leaning softly, balancing light and dark in perfect grace. As you close your eyes tonight, imagine yourself lying upon that turning world. The planet beneath you is tilting gently toward light, or away from it, depending on the day you live in. Somewhere, a dawn is already spilling gold into the sky, while somewhere else, the last light is fading to violet. The earth cradles both at once, holding them in perfect equilibrium. The seasons turn endlessly, yet every moment within them is unique, a single breath in an infinite rhythm. Let that rhythm guide your own breathing. Now, inhale the warmth of sunlight. Exhale into the cool quiet of shadow. Feel the planet's motion beneath you, steady and sure, tilting gracefully through the heavens. The cradle of seasons holds you, as it has held every life that ever was. The same balance that brings spring blossoms and autumn rain also brings you this stillness, this rest. The earth is leaning, softly, endlessly, and you are leaning with it, drifting with its motion, part of its eternal turn. 6. The endless water. Everywhere on this planet, in every breath and every shadow, water moves. It gathers in clouds, falls in rain, carves valleys, and fills the air with quiet shimmer. It is the oldest traveler on Earth, a wanderer without beginning or end. Every droplet that now rests within your body, every tear, every wave, every flake of snow has been here since the dawn of the world. Water does not vanish. It only changes shape, changing costume, changing form, circling endlessly through time. The same molecule that now glides down a mountain stream may once have frozen in the shadow of an ice age, or danced as vapor above the first forests, or drifted through the lungs of a creature that lived before memory began. Water has seen it all, and it remembers in silence. Imagine the planet billions of years ago, when it was still young and restless. Volcanoes burst through molten rock, spilling gases and vapor into the sky. Comets and asteroids delivered ice from distant corners of the solar system, sprinkling the surface with frozen seeds of oceans yet to come. Slowly, as the Earth cooled, steam condensed and fell as rain, and it rained for centuries. The first oceans formed then, boiling at their edges, shimmering under a crimson sky. From that endless rainfall, every river, lake, and droplet of dew was born. The water that now fills your glass was once part of that primeval storm. Every molecule you drink carries the memory of that ancient rain. Water is the planet's bloodstream. It circulates through clouds and soil, through roots and veins, through the hollow of the sky. It connects everything mountain to ocean, air to stone, plant to animal, moment to eternity. The cycle is infinite. Evaporation lifts it into the air, condensation returns it as rain, gravity draws it downward again, and heat sends it rising once more. There is no first step, no final destination, only motion, only balance. It is a rhythm older than life and yet perfectly mirrored within every living cell. You are mostly water, and through you, the planet continues its ancient flow. In its liquid form, water moves with perfect grace. It yields, yet it wears down mountains. It has no shape of its own, yet it shapes everything. It can carry cities or carve canyons, destroy or cradle with equal calm. Watch a stream flow around a stone. It does not resist. It adapts. It slips past every obstacle without anger, finds every hollow, fills every space. Water's strength is its softness. It teaches without words that gentleness can move worlds. It has shaped the surface of the earth more profoundly than any other force, not through violence, but through persistence. Every curve of coastline, every valley, every smooth pebble beneath your feet is a story written in water's slow, patient script. When water rises into clouds, it becomes the breath of the sky. Those drifting forms above you are not solid things, but gatherings of vapor, invisible molecules that have joined hands to scatter light. Sunlight catches them and paints them white, pink, and gold. Each cloud you see is temporary, a floating thought that may soon dissolve, fall, or reshape. Yet their patterns repeat across millennia. The same winds that carried clouds across the heads of dinosaurs carry them across yours. The same vapor that fell as rain on ancient continents falls on cities today. The clouds are old souls, endlessly reborn. Rain, when it comes, is the sound of the planet speaking. Each drop begins as a speck of dust or salt suspended in the air, collecting moisture as it drifts until it grows heavy enough to fall. When it strikes leaves, soil, and rooftops, it creates a music older than language, soft percussion, played by gravity and grace. The rhythm changes with temperature and season. Light drizzles murmur, heavy storms drum deep and slow. Even as you sleep, that rhythm continues somewhere on distant seas, in silent forests, over forgotten deserts. The rain never ceases. It only moves to another place. In frozen form, water becomes still, yet its movement continues invisibly. Snowflakes fall like fragments of breath, each one unique, each one a perfect pattern of geometry and chance. Beneath the poles, glaciers slide with the patience of centuries, creeping inch by inch toward the sea. Though they seem immovable, they flow as surely as rivers, their ice grinding mountains to dust, their melt feeding the veins of continents. When ice melts, it remembers what it once was: liquid, cloud, rain, and when it freezes again, it remembers that too. Water's transformations are not changes of nature, but gestures of continuity. The ocean holds most of Earth's water, and it is here that the true vastness of the cycle becomes clear. Beneath its surface lie hidden currents that move across the planet like great, slow arteries. Warm water rises and drifts toward the poles. Cool water sinks and returns toward the equator. It is a global engine of balance, carrying heat, salt, and life through its depths. The ocean exhales moisture into the air and inhales rivers back into its body. Every storm begins there. Every drop of rain owes its existence to that endless exchange. The ocean is not a separate part of the earth. It is the earth, breathing in liquid form. Even within you, water carries memory. It flows through your veins, cushioning your joints, cooling your skin, shaping your thoughts in ways unseen. Every electrical signal in your brain depends on its presence. Every heartbeat sends it flowing anew, like tides within flesh. You are, in a very literal sense, a small ocean, a piece of the planet, carrying its most essential element. When you drink, you return that ocean to itself. When you breathe, you release it again into air. Your life is a continuation of water's endless journey, a temporary shape it takes before moving on. Water is also the carrier of life's spark. It dissolves, mixes, and transports the ingredients of existence, allowing chemistry to dream itself into biology. The first cells formed in shallow seas, their fragile membranes surrounded by liquid. Even today, life cannot exist without water. It is the medium in which every reaction, every pulse, every thought occurs. On worlds without it, we see silence. On worlds where it flows, we imagine the possibility of breath. Wherever water moves, life follows. As though the universe has chosen it as the language of creation, there is a quiet mystery in how water feels to us. We seek it constantly to drink, to bathe, to gaze upon. We are drawn to the sea, not just for its beauty, but for its familiarity. Something deep within recognizes it. The sound of waves resembles the rhythm of a heartbeat heard from within. The reflection of light on its surface recalls the flicker of memory within the mind. When we stand at the edge of water, we are meeting ourselves, mirrored and expanded. Perhaps that is why watching rain or listening to the sea soothes us. It is recognition, a reminder of where we came from and where we belong. At night, the water does not sleep. It evaporates silently, rising in invisible plumes from lakes and leaves, joining the cool air as mist. Rivers move beneath starlight, and dew gathers on grass like 1,000 tiny moons. In these quiet hours, water seems to vanish, but it only shifts into another form, continuing its unseen pilgrimage. Even the air in your room contains it, holding more or less depending on warmth and calm. The breath you exhale joins that invisible ocean in the sky, a contribution to the global rhythm. If you could follow a single drop of water through time, you would see it experience every form imaginable. It might rise from a calm sea, drift into a cloud, fall as rain on a mountain, trickle into a stream, freeze within a glacier, melt into a river, and flow again into the ocean. It might one day enter a seed, become part of a leaf, evaporate into air, and fall once more as rain. In all that time, it never ceases to exist. It simply continues, flowing from form to form, cycle to cycle, dream to dream. It is, in essence, eternal motion, the heartbeat of the planet turned liquid. As you rest now, imagine that water moving beneath and above you, the ocean's waves rolling under moonlight, the rivers tracing silver paths through valleys, the clouds drifting unseen beyond the dark. The same water that once filled ancient seas now circles through your veins, and when you sleep, it will continue its quiet journey. You are part of its motion, one drop in an endless current. Breathe slowly, as the sea breathes. Let the rhythm of water cradle you. The earth's endless water flows on, timeless, tireless, tender, carrying the memory of every life, every dawn, and every dream ever to touch its surface. 7. The floating ice. High above the dark depths of the ocean, in the cold breath of polar air, something miraculous happens each winter. Water, that most fluid and yielding of substances, turns solid, and in doing so, it becomes lighter than itself. Ice floats. This simple truth, so ordinary to our eyes, is one of the most extraordinary properties in all of nature. It is the quiet reason why lakes do not freeze from the bottom up, why oceans remain alive beneath their winter skin, and why life on Earth has endured through ages of cold. Without this fragile quirk of physics, the world might have frozen into silence long ago. But instead, the ice rises. It becomes a shield, a blanket, a mirror, and a symbol of balance, suspended delicately between solid and liquid, between death and renewal. When water cools, most of its molecules slow down and move closer together. Almost every other substance follows this pattern, shrinking as it freezes, growing heavier, denser, more compact. But water behaves differently. As its temperature drops, It continues to contract until it reaches 4 degrees above freezing. Then, something astonishing occurs. The molecules begin to arrange themselves into a lattice, an open hexagonal pattern that takes up more space than the liquid from which it forms. Instead of sinking, the ice becomes buoyant. It drifts upward, settling softly on the surface, a frozen layer that floats upon its own source. This single, elegant exception born of geometry and hydrogen bonds protects the living world. It is nature's quiet defiance of logic, its most merciful rebellion. Imagine a frozen lake in midwinter. Beneath its smooth surface, the water below remains liquid, dark, and slow. Fish move lazily under the ice, sheltered by the barrier above them. Tiny bubbles rise, suspended in the stillness. The ice acts as insulation, trapping heat and keeping the depths from freezing solid. Snow gathers on top, reflecting sunlight and keeping the cold from biting deeper. The result is a fragile equilibrium, a layer of deathless cold guarding life beneath. In this simple balance lies the secret of survival through countless ice ages. Were it not for ice's buoyancy, every winter would bury the oceans under miles of solid frost. Each spring would have to begin from nothing, life wiped clean, again and again. But the Earth, wise in its chemistry, chose otherwise. It allowed the cold to float, to protect rather than destroy. If you could walk across that frozen surface and listen, you might hear the music of the ice. It creaks, groans, and sings as it expands and contracts with the night's changing temperatures. The sound travels through the air like deep, resonant whispers, notes from the frozen heart of water itself. Some call it the voice of winter, though it is more than that. It is the sound of the planet adjusting to its own physics, of molecules stretching and settling into crystalline peace. Beneath that sound lies stillness, the kind that slows thoughts and lengthens breaths. Ice itself is a record keeper. Inside glaciers and polar caps are tiny bubbles of air trapped thousands, even millions, of years ago. Each layer of frozen snow becomes a page in the book of climate, recording the warmth of summers long past, the ashes of ancient fires, the breath of forests now gone. When scientists drill into the ice and pull out those long cylinders of frozen history, they are reading the planet's diary, written not in ink, but in frost. The whispers of past ages rest in those crystals, holding the story of the Earth's changing heart. In the far north, ice becomes something more than water. It becomes a landscape, a world unto itself. Vast sheets drift across the polar seas, cracking and colliding with low, thunderous roars. Mountains of ice rise from the ocean, sculpted by wind and tide. They glow from within, blue like deep twilight, luminous like breath held beneath glass. Each iceberg carries its own geometry, carved from snowfall that may have fallen centuries ago. As they melt, they release fresh water back into the sea, completing a cycle that began long before human eyes ever saw it. These frozen giants drift in silence, slowly turning, slowly dissolving, returning their borrowed time to the ocean that bore them. Ice reflects sunlight more than any other surface on Earth. When sunlight strikes a glacier, most of it bounces back into space, cooling the planet below. This effect, called albedo, acts as the Earth's natural mirror. It moderates the temperature, keeping the balance between warmth and cold. As the world warms and the ice retreats, that mirror dims, and the planet absorbs more light, more heat. Even in its melting, ice continues to shape the fate of everything living. It is both shield and signal, a shimmering messenger of change, fragile and powerful at once. Yet ice is not always cold. It carries memory of heat within it. Each crystal, though frozen, is born from motion molecules moving just enough to lock into structure, still humming faintly with energy. In the right light, ice reveals hidden rainbows, minute prisms that scatter sunlight into all colors at once. Frost on a window, delicate and temporary, grows like a forest of glass. Snowflakes, each unique, form with symmetry so intricate it seems like intention. They fall in silence, but each carries a secret of physics: the invisible humidity, the angle of the wind, the fraction of a degree that decided its shape. No two are alike, because no two journeys are the same. Each snowflake is a frozen story of the sky's breath. Ice and time are old friends. They move together, slowly but irresistibly. A glacier can grind mountains into dust, not by force but by patience. Each inch of movement takes years, yet over ages, entire valleys are carved from stone. When the ice retreats, it leaves behind fertile plains and smooth lakes, reminders that what seems destructive is often the beginning of renewal. The quiet passage of ice across land is the world's longest lullaby, sung in the key of patience, and even as it melts, ice does not vanish. The water that was once frozen joins rivers and seas, evaporates, rises into clouds, and returns as rain or snow once more. Nothing is lost, only transformed. The frozen becomes fluid, the still becomes flowing, and in that transformation lies the promise of continuation. The planet itself breathes through these shifts, freezing, thawing, evaporating, reigning in rhythms too vast for us to see but easy to feel. At night, under starlight, ice seems to glow with its own quiet light. On frozen lakes, moonlight reflects in silver streaks, and the world feels both solid and fragile at once. The air is so cold it rings. Each breath rises as mist, joining the frozen air in temporary kinship. Standing in that stillness, you can feel how close the boundary is between liquid and solid, between motion and pause. It is the line between heartbeat and rest, between the flowing sea and the sleeping snow. As you lie here tonight, you are surrounded by the same molecules that form that ice. Inside you, water flows, always near the edge of transformation. Your breath condenses, cools, and returns to air. You, too, are part of that endless cycle of freezing and thawing, of stillness and movement. The floating ice is not a distant marvel, but a reflection of your own persistence, your ability to endure by yielding, to protect by adapting. So imagine now the world beneath its winter skin, the lakes sealed in glass, the oceans capped in silver calm, the snow falling softly across, the dark. Beneath it all, warmth remains. Life continues. The water waits, patient as the stars. In time, the ice will melt, the rivers will run again, and the earth will turn back toward light. This is the rhythm of existence: to freeze, to thaw, to begin again. The floating ice is not the end of motion, but its gentle pause, a quiet rest before the next awakening. And as you drift toward sleep, let that image carry you. Let your thoughts settle like snow, your breath slow like freezing rivers. The world is resting now, wrapped in its fragile shell of ice, waiting for dawn. Somewhere, deep beneath that frozen stillness, life is stirring slow, patient, eternal. The ice floats above it all, glimmering in moonlight, the planet's tender shield against the cold of space. Sleep now, and dream as the earth dreams, suspended, shining, safe beneath its blanket of ice. 8. The quiet movement of continents. Beneath the calm forests, the winding rivers, and the steady hum of life, the earth itself is moving. It does not rush or tremble, but glides so slowly that an entire lifetime passes without our eyes noticing. Yet beneath our feet, continents drift like immense, ancient rafts across an invisible ocean of stone. Mountains rise, valleys sink, and the face of the planet shifts, grain by grain, over spans of time so vast that human history feels like a flicker in the dark. The ground we call solid is not still at all. It breathes, stretches, folds, and flows, following a rhythm too deep for us to hear. The continents are the slow dancers of the earth, locked in a silent waltz that has lasted 4 billion years. If you could see the earth from above, and then speed up time until millions of years pass in a moment, the world would ripple like a living thing. Oceans would open and close. Mountains would rise like waves and crumble like foam. The continents, which seem fixed on every map, would drift, collide, and split apart again, changing partners in a dance that never ends. Africa would slide toward Europe, pushing up new mountains where the Mediterranean once lay. South America would press against North America, while the Pacific shrinks and deep trenches widen in reply. Every landscape, every shore, every island is a snapshot of motion. We live on a planet forever in transit. This motion begins deep below, where heat from the Earth's core stirs the mantle like slow-moving honey. The rock there is solid, but over long spans it flows, rising where it grows warm, sinking where it cools, forming vast circular currents that shift the crust above them. The crust itself is broken into plates, great slabs of stone tens of miles thick, carrying continents and oceans upon them. Where the plates meet, they grind, slide, and dive beneath one another, reshaping the world with patient insistence. A mountain range is born where two plates collide. A deep ocean trench forms where one sinks beneath another. Volcanoes mark the edges of these, invisible boundaries, releasing the planet's inner breath in fountains of fire and ash. It is not chaos, but a grand, slow choreography destruction, giving birth to creation, endings flowing into beginnings. Over the ages, this dance has drawn and redrawn the map of the world countless times. Long before there were people to name them, the continents would join together in vast supercontinents that drifted and broke apart again. The first was Valbara, then came Rodinia, then Pannotia, and later, the great landmass we call Pangaea. Imagine a single world ocean surrounding one colossal continent, where deserts stretched for thousands of miles and forests grew from pole to pole. When that supercontinent cracked and split, it gave rise to the arrangement we know today. But even this, too, is temporary. Slowly, invisibly, the continents continue to move, drawn by the same currents that shaped their ancestors. Millions of years from now, the Earth will look entirely different. Again, the continents will merge and part, the oceans will rearrange, and new mountains will lift their peaks into the sky. Nothing in the planet's surface is permanent. Everything is quietly in flux. Even the air we breathe and the lives we live are shaped by this slow drift. The movement of continents changes the course of ocean currents, and with them, the patterns of climate. When land masses shift north or south, they carry forests, deserts, and life along for the ride. Fossils of tropical plants have been found beneath Antarctic ice, and shells from ancient seas rest atop Himalayan peaks. These are not accidents, but records of a planet that has always been on the move. Life adapts, migrates, and evolves with the continents, finding new homes as the old ones drift away. In this way, the Earth's slow tectonic motion has written the history of every living thing. Sometimes that motion becomes visible, suddenly and sharply. When pressure builds along a fault line and releases, the ground shakes in an instant, an earthquake, the brief reminder of an ancient rhythm that never stops. The energy that moves mountains over eons can, in a single second, ripple through stone and city alike. Yet even earthquakes are moments of balance being restored, tension released so that the world can continue its patient rearranging. Volcanoes, too, are signs of movement, places where molten rock rises to the surface. spreading new land across the sea floor, or forming islands that grow inch by inch until they breach the waves. The Earth renews itself constantly, but its renewal is not gentle. It is creative, powerful, and unstoppable. What we call the continents are merely the visible part of a much larger system, the thin crust floating upon a vast ocean of mantle. Beneath the crust lies the true engine of motion, heat left over from the planet's birth, mixed with the energy released by radioactive decay in the deep core. This heat drives convection, the slow churning that keeps the mantle alive. Without it, the plates would stop moving, volcanoes would fall silent, and the planet would grow geologically cold, a frozen sphere adrift in space. The drifting of continents, then, is not just a surface phenomenon, it is a sign of the Earth's living heart. The motion beneath your feet is proof that the planet is still breathing. This quiet migration has shaped the story of the human world as well. Mountains that block rain create deserts on one side and fertile plains on the other. Valleys formed by rifts become cradles of rivers and civilizations. Even the placement of continents determines the paths of winds and the cycles of monsoons that feed billions of lives. When we look at a globe, we are not seeing something fixed. We are seeing a moment captured in motion, a still frame in an eternal film. Each coastline, each mountain range, each island chain is part of a pattern that extends backward and forward through time. In the deep sea, where tectonic plates pull apart, new crust forms continuously. Lava wells up through the cracks, cools, and becomes fresh ocean floor. This process is called seafloor spreading, and it happens quietly, relentlessly, adding inches to the planet's surface every year. The Earth is renewing itself even as we sleep. Old crust disappears into deep trenches elsewhere, consumed back into the mantle to begin again. The planet recycles its own bones, its own skin, in a cycle of death and rebirth that has never ceased. This motion, invisible and unstoppable, keeps the world young. If you could listen deeply enough, beyond the wind, beyond the hum of the oceans, you might hear the faint vibration of this movement, the deep, steady resonance of continents gliding, colliding, and parting. Scientists have detected the Earth's natural frequencies, a hum too low for human ears, created by the constant shifting of waves, atmosphere, and crust. It is the song of motion, the music of balance, written in stone. At night, when the world feels still, remember that nothing beneath you is truly motionless. The ground you rest upon is traveling at the speed of continents centimeters a year, but inexorable. You are moving with it, carried on the slowest journey imaginable. You share in the same movement that has built mountain ranges, split continents, and shaped oceans. This slow drift connects you to the very rhythm of the planet's interior, a motion so ancient and patient that it feels almost eternal. And so, as you drift into rest, think of the continents gliding beneath you, their edges brushing, their centers turning, their weight shifting over molten seas of stone. Somewhere, far below, mountains are being born. Somewhere else, a deep trench is swallowing the remains of older worlds. The ground beneath you is alive, and it is moving, softly, endlessly, just as you are breathing now. Sleep within that motion. Let the thought of the drifting Earth steady you, its patience, its quiet power, its ceaseless transformation. The continents continue their journey through the dark, slow as thought, constant as time. And through it all, the planet remains balanced, whole, and alive, carrying you gently on its back as it glides through space. 9. The breath of the forests. All across the planet, wherever sunlight meets soil, the forests breathe. Their inhalation is silent but vast, a slow exchange that links leaf to sky, root to rain, and life to life. When you walk among trees, you are walking inside that breath, the living exhalation of the earth itself. It is invisible, continuous, and ancient. The great respiration that sustains every heartbeat and every whisper of wind. Long before our lungs ever filled with air, the forests were already breathing for us, weaving oxygen from sunlight and water, shaping the atmosphere into something that could cradle life. In their calm persistence, they keep the planet balanced, their rhythm matching the stark turning of the world. Each morning, when the first light spills through the canopy, the forests awaken with quiet purpose. The leaves unfurl, turning toward the sun, and begin the patient work of transforming light into energy. Inside each cell, tiny green structures called chloroplasts capture photons and use their energy to split water, releasing oxygen into the air. Every molecule of that oxygen drifts outward, joining the invisible tide that wraps the world. It enters your lungs, your bloodstream, your cells, and returns to the atmosphere again with every breath. In this way, the forests are both the planet's lungs and its heart, exhaling life, inhaling renewal, their pulse echoing through the wind. The breath of the forest is not only chemical but also musical. It rises and falls in temperature and scent, in the hum of insects and the sigh of branches. During the day, the air beneath the canopy warms and expands, carrying the forest's fragrance upward, the earthy perfume of soil and resin, of sap and sunlight. As night falls, the air cools and sinks again, returning to the roots. This daily exchange forms gentle currents that shape weather, bringing rain to thirsty regions and carrying moisture across continents. The forests do not simply live within the climate, they make the climate. Every drop of water that evaporates from a leaf becomes part of a cloud, which may drift thousands of miles before returning as rain. A tree's breath is also the sky's. Deep within, the trees are connected in ways that are easy to forget. Beneath the soil, their roots intertwine, touching and trading signals through networks of fungi known as the mycorrhizae. Through these hidden threads, trees share nutrients, warn each other of drought or pests, and even feed seedlings shaded by older canopies. When one tree is injured, the network carries its chemical messages outward, summoning defense from others nearby. The forest, then, is not a collection of individuals, but a single organism spread across miles, a living system of exchange and memory. It breathes not only through air but through earth. In the great rainforests of the Amazon, the Congo, and Southeast Asia, this breath is almost visible. Mist rises each morning as the trees release water vapor into the sky, forming vast clouds that shimmer like ghosts. These forests recycle their own rain, pulling moisture from deep soil and sending it back into the air again and again. Without them, the world's rainfall would falter. They are engines of humidity, green hearts beating in sync with the monsoon winds. Even the rhythm of the planet's weather depends on their pulse. When they thrive, the earth inhales deeply. When they falter, the atmosphere grows thin and strained. In temperate forests, where seasons come and go, the breath is slower, more deliberate. In spring, buds swell, drawing carbon dioxide from the air as photosynthesis begins anew. In summer, the canopy thickens, dark and dense, exhaling oxygen in great abundance. By autumn, the trees begin to rest. Their leaves fade from green to gold, releasing stored sugars and returning nutrients to the soil. As winter approaches, they fall silent, exhaling one last time before sleeping. The breath of the forest, like the breath of any living being, follows its own rhythm of effort and release. And when spring returns, the lungs of the earth expand again. Each tree is a record of time. Within its trunk are rings that tell of past seasons, years of abundance marked by wide bands. years of drought by narrow ones. Together, the rings of a forest form a collective memory of centuries, storing the pattern of rain, heat, wind, and growth. Scientists read these rings like pages in a diary, tracing the Earth's changes through them. But beyond the science, there is something deeply human in that patience. A tree grows quietly through every storm, storing not the violence, but the recovery afterward. Its rings are not only records of struggle, but also of endurance. In some forests, the air feels alive, thick with sound and motion. Birds call from hidden branches, insects hum in invisible clouds, and small creatures rustle in the underbrush. Every noise is part of the larger breath, each flutter of wings a whisper in the grand respiration of the earth. Even silence in a forest is not emptiness, it is fullness, held in stillness. The air there is denser with oxygen than in the open, a faint sweetness that your lungs recognize instantly. Breathing beneath trees feels different, because the air is richer, fresher, purified by millions of leaves. It is the closest one can come to breathing alongside the planet itself. Forests are also storytellers of light. As the sun moves across the sky, it filters through branches and leaves, breaking into countless shards and patterns. No two moments of light are ever the same. Shadows ripple like water, shifting with the breeze. The ground glows in fragments, gold, green, amber. Each flicker a reminder that the forest lives not only in time but in motion. Light and leaf, wind and shadow, all dance together in an endless, wordless language. Even in the darkest depths, where sunlight barely touches, the green glow of life persists, faint but unwavering. The breath of the forests extends far beyond their edges. The oxygen you inhale in a city may have begun as a whisper from a distant rainforest. The rain that nourishes a mountain valley may have been born from the transpiration of leaves thousands of miles away. The forests are not confined to where their trunks stand. Their influence wraps the entire earth in a web of living air. They are not only the lungs of the planet, but also its voice, its quiet song carried by wind. Yet this vast breath is vulnerable. As forests are cut or burned, their steady inhalation falters. The balance of carbon and oxygen tilts, and the air grows heavier, warmer, more restless. The earth can feel this imbalance in rising temperatures, in shifting storms, in the slow retreat of glaciers. The forest's silence echoes across the atmosphere. Still, wherever even a small grove stands, the breath continues. Every seed that germinates is a promise that the cycle can resume. The planet remembers how to breathe. It only waits for us to remember with it. At night, forests exhale differently. Without sunlight, photosynthesis pauses, and the trees release carbon dioxide instead of oxygen. Yet the exchange continues, the air moving, cooling, balancing itself anew. The stars above filter through the branches, and the entire forest glows faintly with phosphorescent life insects, fungi, and the sheen of dew reflecting moonlight. In that darkness, the forest's breath becomes a lullaby, slow, steady, calm. The air feels thick with rest, as if the earth itself were sleeping in its own arms. As you close your eyes now, imagine that vast, slow breathing, stretching across continents, jungles rising and falling with the rhythm of the world. Imagine the pulse of green beneath the clouds, the endless whisper of leaves turning light into air. The same oxygen that fills your lungs tonight was once inside a tree, drawn from soil and sunlight, shaped by time and patience. You are breathing the memory of forests, millions of years of quiet devotion. Let your breath match theirs now. Inhale as the forests inhale, deep and slow. Exhale as they do, with ease and grace. Feel the air move through you, connecting you to everything that lives and grows. The forests are breathing still, keeping time with the turning of the earth. And as you drift toward sleep, the planet breathes with you, one vast, endless exhalation of life. 10. The whisper of lightning. There are moments when the sky forgets its stillness and speaks not in thunder first, but in a quick flash of light so pure that for an instant, day is born again in the middle of to night. Lightning, the bright signature of the atmosphere's hidden tension, is both beautiful and humbling. It arrives without warning, yet never without reason. In a single spark, it releases energy enough to light cities, to split trees, to shape deserts. But beyond its power lies something softer, a whisper that travels through the bones of the world, a reminder that even the sky must breathe, discharge, and find balance again. For every bolt of lightning is not anger or chaos. It is the Earth's own electrical sigh, restoring equilibrium to the vast circuit between heaven and ground. Long before humans walked beneath these skies, lightning danced across the primeval world. It may have been among the first creators striking through the thick ancient air, splitting simple gases and forging the building blocks of life. Within those bright moments, energy met matter in just the right way to awaken chemistry, to stir the sleeping atoms of early oceans. In that sense, every living creature is descended from a spark. What we now call storm and danger once carried the first murmur of creation. Lightning is the visible edge of invisible forces. High above, clouds form from countless droplets of water and ice, moving on wind currents that brush and collide. With each collision, electric charges separate positive and negative building within the cloud until tension grows unbearable. Then, in silence, the balance snaps. The electrons rush through air, seeking their opposites. They move faster than sight, heating the air around them to temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. That heat expands the air in an instant, creating a shockwave that ripples outward as thunder, the voice that follows the flash. It is the sound of the sky exhaling after holding its breath too long. From the ground, a lightning strike lasts less than a second. Yet in that brief pulse lies a complex conversation between earth and sky. Most of the flash never touches the ground at all. It dances within the clouds, moving horizontally, curling and branching through the vapor like silver veins. Some bolts leap upward, reaching toward space in shimmering towers. Others descend, connecting heaven and earth with a single luminous thread. These are the bolts we see most clearly, bright paths that seem to stitch the sky to the soil. But each is fleeting, a bridge made of fire and air, existing only long enough to carry balance from one realm to another. When lightning touches the ground, it does not merely vanish. It leaves fingerprints, fused sand turned into delicate glass tubes called fulgurites, soil rich with nitrogen formed by the intense heat. Plants depend on that nitrogen. Storms fertilize the earth. In this way, even the fiercest flash is an act of renewal. The forest, the field, the ocean, all are nourished by the quiet chemistry of storms. Lightning is not simply destruction. It is creation disguised as brightness, the planet's own, pulse, electric, and eternal. There are places where lightning is constant regions, where warm air rises daily, meeting cooler layers above to ignite endless storms. In Venezuela's Lake Maracaibo, lightning flashes almost every night, thousands of times, illuminating the clouds in rhythmic silence. Locals call it the everlasting storm, a phenomenon so steady that sailors once used it to navigate. From space, these storms appear as flickering constellations, light moving within the world itself. They remind us that the Earth's energy never sleeps. It only shifts its form, turning heat into motion, motion into charge, charge into light. When you watch a storm, there is a rhythm to it. The silence before the first flash, when the air feels heavy and the wind stops. Then the quick burst of light, sharp and pure, followed by the deep, rolling voice of thunder echoing across hills and valleys. Between each flash and each sound, there is a pause, a moment of stillness that feels infinite. That pause is the heartbeat of the storm, the measure of distance between sky and ground, between fear and awe. Within it lies a strange peace, the calm woven through power. If you stand in the open when lightning strikes miles away, you can feel it a tingle in the air, a faint scent of ozone, sharp and clean, like metal and rain. It is the smell of atoms rearranged, of energy crossing boundaries. The light you see is not a single color, but a spectrum blue at its heart, white and violet at its edges, fading into gold as it disperses. Each bolt carries its own pattern, unique in path and brightness, no two the same. Lightning never repeats itself. It writes a new script in the air every time, one that vanishes as soon as it's written. Thunder follows, but slower, deepening the memory of what has just passed. It rolls across the landscape, softened by distance, bouncing off mountains, sliding through valleys. Sometimes it rumbles low like a drum. Sometimes it cracks sharply overhead, startling and raw. Yet no matter its form, it always arrives. Late light moves faster, sound slower, and in that delay, we hear time itself, stretched across air. The flash and the echo are reminders of the gap between seeing and understanding, between event and reflection. Lightning is the moment, thunder is the memory. Within storms, energy seeks harmony. The electric field of the planet, born from its core, shaped by its atmosphere, must constantly rebalance itself. Lightning is one of its ways of doing so, a release that resets the tension between clouds and ground. Without it, the world's electrical charge would build endlessly, reaching dangerous imbalance. So, the storms come, as they always have, and the sky clears its mind in brilliant light. What seems violent is merely necessity, the universe adjusting its pulse. Long ago, people watched lightning and thought it the language of gods, divine anger, or revelation, or guidance. And, perhaps in their way, they were right. For lightning does carry a message, though it is simpler and truer than myth. Everything seeks balance. Every system, from atoms to planets, holds tension, releases it, and restores peace. Lightning is that cycle made visible. It reminds us that harmony is not the absence of energy but its flow, that peace is not stillness but balance restored. After the storm passes, the world smells different. The air feels cleaner, lighter, renewed. Dust has settled, heat has eased, and the soil drinks the first drops of cool rain. The horizon glows faintly with reflected light, clouds dissolving into mist. The lightning's charge fades into memory, but something in the landscape lingers, a quiet, charged silence. The earth rests after exhaling. At night, from the distance, lightning can look like thought, made visible, fleeting ideas crossing the mind of the planet. A storm far away flickers at the edge of sight, each flash illuminating the outline of clouds, the silhouettes of trees. Watching it feels like listening to a conversation between sky and ground, one spoken entirely in light. There is no anger there, only energy, pure, unjudging, eternal. And so, as you lie beneath the vast dome of sky, know that even now, somewhere on this turning planet, lightning is whispering. Over jungles, over deserts, across oceans, it dances in silence, carrying balance from one horizon to another. You may not see it, but the air above you is part of that same circuit, charged with potential, alive with invisible motion. Breathe deeply. Feel the faint electricity of life in your skin, the quiet pulse in your chest, the spark of thought in your mind. You are made of the same energy that leaps between clouds, contained, gentle, luminous. The difference is only in scale. The Earth's storms are not separate from you. They are extensions of the same rhythm that beats within. As you drift into rest, let the memory of that light fill you with calm. Imagine the flash far away, illuminating the night in silence, followed by the rolling murmur of thunder, distant and soothing. The whisper of lightning has passed, the balance restored, the sky at peace once more. The storm breathes out, and so do you. The earth turns, its pulse steady, its light fading softly into sleep. 11. The night sky's reflection. When the light of day finally fades and the air cools to stillness, the sky opens like a mirror, revealing not emptiness, but infinity. It stretches without end in every direction, a canvas of darkness strewn with ancient light. The stars are not merely above us, they are around us, within us, and behind every moment we call now. To gaze upward is to look into time itself, to witness the echoes of creation still shimmering on their long journey through the void. Each point of light is a story so distant that its beginning predates our species, our mountains, even our oceans. Yet somehow, that light finds us. It travels across eternity, crosses the trembling surface of the atmosphere, and lands softly on the surface of your eye. And in that instant, the universe completes a circle from star to human, from fire to thought. The night sky has always been a reflection not just of the cosmos, but of the Earth's own memory. The stars we see are the ancestors of everything that exists here. Long ago, before the world cooled, before there was land or sea, the universe was filled with only hydrogen, helium, and light. Then stars were born, burning for billions of years, fusing simple elements into heavier ones. When they died, they scattered their remains through space, clouds of carbon, iron, calcium, and gold, drifting among the galaxies. Out of those clouds came the sun, the earth, and every living thing upon it. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen in your lungs, all were forged in the hearts of stars. When you look up at the sky, you are looking into your own reflection, stretched across light years. The atoms of your body once belonged to the stars that now shine above you. You are, quite literally, the universe remembering itself. Each star you see tonight is a messenger from the past. The light of the closest star beyond our sun has traveled more than 4 years to reach you. Others are older still, light from centuries ago, millennia ago, entire epochs before the first human thought to look upward. The glow of the Andromeda galaxy, faint and soft, left its source over 2 million years ago, long before our kind learned to speak. To look at the night sky is to peer backward in time, to witness the ghosts of suns still burning, their brilliance undimmed by distance. Every starlit night is a journey through memory, a reminder that time itself is layered, and we stand in its depths, illuminated by its past. The stars seem fixed, yet they move ceaselessly, drifting through space in slow celestial migration. Constellations, those old companions of human imagination, are temporary illusions, patterns that will dissolve in millennia as the stars continue their separate paths. And yet, their impermanence does not diminish their meaning. For as long as we have looked upward, we have drawn stories between those lights, maps, myths, and reflections of our own hearts. The hunter and the swan, the lion and the dragon, all are expressions of our need to find order in infinity. The night sky gives us not only light but narrative. It mirrors the human instinct to connect, to weave the scattered points of experience into constellations of understanding. Even the darkness between the stars is not truly empty. It hums with radiation, dust, and the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, the echo of the universe's first breath, still traveling outward 13 billion years later. The night is not a void but a fullness beyond measure, a gentle pressure of existence too vast for the mind to hold. To lie beneath that sky is to feel both small and infinite at once, a single consciousness floating in a sea of light. The earth, turning quietly beneath it, feels like a vessel adrift on the cosmic tide. The moon, too, joins this reflection, not shining by its own power, but by the borrowed light of the Sunday. Its face, pale and watchful, is the soft echo of day. As it drifts across the night, it paints silver paths on water, softens shadows, and lights the journey of nocturnal creatures. The same moon has gazed down on every human who ever lived, from the first who lifted their eyes in wonder to the last who will ever dream beneath it. Its light is ancient, familiar, and kind, a steady companion in the long cycle of night and day. When the moon is full, its glow seems almost close enough to touch, yet it remains unreachable, suspended in a balance as delicate as the Earth's own breath. The stars, though distant, affect us more intimately than we imagine. The light that reaches us changes our biology, our sleep, even our emotions. Starlight triggers instincts older than language, a sense of safety when the moon is bright, a pull toward reflection when the night is deep. The darkness between the stars encourages rest. It slows the heart, calms the mind. In the quiet beneath the constellations, thought softens, and the boundary between the self and the sky blurs. The universe becomes not something we observe, but something we are. When ancient peoples looked upward, they saw the same stars you see now. They built monuments aligned with their rising and setting, traced calendars by their cycles, and prayed to their constancy. To them, the stars were not distant suns, but living presences, eyes of ancestors, guides for travelers, symbols of permanence in a world of change. In truth, they were right, in a way science now confirms. We are made of their dust, bound to their fate. When we die, our atoms will return to the earth, and one day, those atoms will return to the stars. The cycle continues, matter rising and falling, light traveling and returning. The night sky reflects that endless exchange, a mirror of what it means to exist and to transform. Sometimes, when the air is perfectly clear, the stars appear so sharp that they seem to hum. Their light, faint though it is, triggers a feeling beyond words, a kind of quiet awe that silences thought. That feeling is older than humanity. It is the recognition of home. Every creature that has ever lived under the open sky carries within it the memory of starlight. Plants once used it to orient their growth. Animals used it to navigate oceans and deserts. Even our circadian rhythms, our sleeping and waking, are tuned to the turning of the stars. The night sky is not only above us, it is written in us, in the molecules that govern our time, and in the instincts that draw us to light. And sometimes, clouds pass across that sky, hiding the stars from view. Yet even when unseen, the light remains. It continues its journey through the atmosphere, scattering faintly, reflecting on the oceans, whispering through the leaves. The stars do not disappear when the sky is veiled. They only wait. Their constancy teaches patience, that what is hidden is not gone, and what is dark is not empty. The same truth lives within us. As you lie beneath this night, let yourself imagine that light flowing through you. Picture each breath you take as a thread connecting you to the stars, the air that enters your lungs filled with atoms, once touched by sunlight, moonlight, and starlight. You are not beneath the cosmos, you are within it. The boundary between your skin and the night is only apparent. In reality, you and the stars share the same material, the same origin, the same eventual destination. The sky above is your reflection, magnified across time. So close your eyes now and see the stars not as distant fires, but as memories shining through the fabric of time. Each one is a whisper from the universe, telling you that nothing is ever truly lost, that light always finds its way home. The night sky's reflection is not just what you see, it is what you are. And as you drift into sleep, the stars continue their quiet watch, keeping time with your breath, glowing softly across the endless dark, a mirror of eternity, peaceful, patient, and full of light. 12. The slow turning core. Beneath everything you have ever known, beneath oceans, mountains, and the roots of forests, there is another world. It is unseen, unheard, and yet it holds the rhythm of the planet itself. Deep within the Earth, at a depth of nearly 4,000 miles, the solid inner core turns slowly in the dark. It is the planet's heart, not made of flesh but of iron, spinning inside a sea of molten metal. Though we cannot feel its motion beneath our feet, that hidden turning shapes the very air we breathe and the light that reaches us. Without it, the Earth would fall silent, stripped of its shield, its balance, its quiet hum of life. Imagine descending through the planet's layers, past stone and heat, past the crust where continents float, through the mantle that moves like liquid glass. The deeper you go, the more the air disappears, replaced by pressure and fire. The rocks soften, then melt, until they form a slow river of magma, an ocean of glowing metal. There, gravity and heat play their endless game, circulating the molten iron like the blood of a giant. And at the very center, suspended within that fiery ocean, lies the solid core, a sphere of iron and nickel, roughly the size of the moon, glowing with the heat of creation. This is the silent engine of the world. The core was born in the planet's earliest days, when the young Earth was a molten mass gathering dust and light. Heavier elements, drawn by gravity, sank inward to form the dense center, while lighter materials floated upward to become the crust and atmosphere. As the core cooled over billions of years, its outer layers remained liquid while the center solidified. It is still cooling, even now, releasing energy that keeps the mantle in motion and the continents drifting. Every mountain, every volcano, every quake is a small expression of that slow cooling, that steady pulse from below. The Earth has been exhaling heat since its birth, and yet its heart still glows. What makes the core extraordinary is not only its existence, but its movement. It does not turn at exactly the same rate as the rest of the planet. It spins slightly faster, like a secret clock inside the Earth, keeping its own time. Scientists believe that the outer core, made of molten iron, flows around the solid inner core, generating immense electrical currents. These currents, in turn, create the magnetic field that surrounds the planet, an invisible shield extending far into space. The field deflects solar winds, protects the atmosphere, and allows life to flourish on the surface. Every compass needle points toward its invisible hand. Every aurora is a painting made by its strength. Without the slow rotation of that buried iron heart, the Earth would lose its protection, and the sky would grow thin and lifeless. It is strange to think that something so far beneath us influences so much above. The drifting of continents, the pattern of weather, the calm blue of the sky, all of them are connected, however faintly, to that deep, glowing core. It radiates more than heat. It radiates continuity. Through every change on the surface, every rise and fall of civilization, every storm and calm, the core has turned on, untroubled, constant. It moves slower than any wind or tide, but it never stops. It is the most patient motion in existence, a revolution that takes decades to complete. If we could listen closely enough, perhaps we could hear it, the deep, low hum of the planet's inner life. Seismic waves, triggered by earthquakes and measured by instruments, give us glimpses of its music. They pass through the core and return altered, carrying whispers of density and movement. From those echoes, scientists have learned that the inner core is not uniform. It has regions where iron aligns in long crystalline structures, where it flows slightly faster or slower. Some studies suggest that the core's rotation even shifts over time, speeding and slowing in a rhythm that spans decades. Like a pendulum made of metal and fire, it sways beneath us, marking time in cycles too long for human minds to notice. The temperature there exceeds 5,000 degrees Celsius, as hot as the surface of the Sunday. Yet, because of the immense pressure, the iron cannot melt. It remains solid, crystalline, dense beyond imagining. Every atom is pressed close to its neighbor, vibrating with heat but unable to move. This dance of pressure and energy is what sustains the magnetic field, a perfect tension between motion and stillness. It is a reminder that balance often exists in paradox, that movement depends on resistance and creation depends on confinement. From that fiery heart rises a subtle force that touches everything. It shapes the migration of animals who navigate by magnetism. It steers the flow of cosmic particles and shields us from radiation that would otherwise strip away the air. It even influences the way lightning moves through storms, guiding the dance between sky and ground. The core's field extends beyond the atmosphere, wrapping the planet in invisible lines that shimmer under solar winds. To see the auroras at the poles, curtains of green and violet light waving across the sky, is to glimpse the edges of that field, where the deep breath of the planet meets the breath of the Sunday. And yet, this shield is not permanent. The Earth's magnetic field drifts and changes, its poles wandering across continents, even flipping entirely over eons. Each reversal leaves its trace in the rocks, stripes of magnetized minerals pointing first one way, then another. When we study these records, we see that the planet's magnetic pulse is alive, unpredictable, restless. Still, through all its changes, life has endured. The field may shift, but it never fades completely. The core keeps turning, and the Earth keeps breathing. It is humbling to know that so much life depends on something so distant from perception, a world within the world, untouched by wind or rain, never seen yet always present. The soil you walk upon, the air you breathe, the light you see, all exist because of the heat and motion deep beneath you. The core is a hidden companion, constant and unspoken, holding the planet in its embrace. Its turning is so slow, so ancient, that it feels eternal, like the ticking of a cosmic clock that has never missed a beat. If you close your eyes and listen to the silence of night, you may sense that slow pulse somewhere beneath thought. The ground beneath you is alive, humming faintly, its motion imperceptible yet endless. Each second, waves of energy move through rock and sea. Rising from that molten ocean deep below, you are standing on a living sphere, warmed from within, shielded by invisible forces born of its heart. The Earth is not solid. It is a being, an organism of stone and fire, breathing through its core. As you drift into rest, imagine descending again into that glow through the layers of cool earth and warm rock, into the bright molten heart where everything moves like honey. Feel the steady turning, the deep warmth, the peace of something that has spun without pause for 4 billion years. The same motion that forged mountains, shaped magnetic fields, and held back cosmic storms continues now, unchanged, patient. You are resting upon it, carried by its motion through space. Let that thought cradle you. Beneath your quiet breath, another breath continues vast, slow, and eternal. The planet's heart turns without hurry, keeping its balance in the dark. And in its turning, it holds you. The slow core hums beneath the crust of life. Its rhythm, older than time. Its warmth, steady as sleep. As you surrender to the stillness, remember, the Earth's heart never stops. It turns for you. It turns for everything that lives, a silent guardian in the deep. 13. The language of rain. There is a sound that belongs to the earth more than any other, a sound both ancient and intimate, familiar to every creature that has ever walked beneath the sky. It is the sound of rain, falling softly on leaves, on rooftops, on rivers and oceans, and open fields. It is the planet speaking in syllables of water, whispering in rhythms that never repeat but always soothe. The language of rain is one of patience. It does not rush. It does not shout. It simply falls, endlessly, gracefully, carrying messages from cloud to soil, from sky to sea. If you listen carefully, you can almost hear meaning within it, a quiet conversation between air and earth, between what rises and what returns. Every drop of rain begins as something impossibly small, a speck of dust, a grain of salt, a floating particle of pollen. Around that seed, moisture gathers, condensing out of the invisible air, drawn together by the gentle pull of cohesion. When enough droplets meet, they become heavy and begin to fall. This fall, that delicate surrender to gravity, is where the story begins. From cloud to ground, each raindrop traces a perfect, fleeting path through the air, carving invisible threads of connection between sky and soil. Some evaporate before they ever touch the ground, returning to the clouds to try again. Others meet the surface, merging with rivers and oceans, rejoining the endless circle from which they came. The first touch of rain brings with it a scent, that unmistakable fragrance of life returning. Scientists call it petrichor, the perfume released when drops strike dry earth. It arises from oils secreted by plants and compounds formed by soil-dwelling bacteria carried upward by the impact of water. But its true nature is deeper than chemistry. It is the scent of renewal, of dust remembering moisture. When rain falls after a long drought, the earth exhales, and that breath becomes a signal recognized by every living thing. Animals lift their heads, leaves unfurl, seeds awaken in the dark. The rain is more than water, it is promise. If you stand beneath a storm and listen, the rain tells many stories at once. On broad leaves, it patters with a hollow rhythm, light and crisp. On stone, it rings with clarity, each drop a small bell. On rooftops, it becomes percussion, steady and soothing. In forests, the sound changes as it falls through layers of branches and moss, a cascade of whispers moving downward. When the rain grows heavy, the individual drops merge into a continuous sound, a deep, steady murmur, like distant applause. It fills the air completely, wrapping the world in a cocoon of sound that silences everything else. No music written by human hands has ever matched the complexity of this rhythm. It is chaotic and perfect, random and predictable, comforting because it reminds us of the world's endless continuity. Rain is the earth's handwriting, its script written in motion. It shapes the landscape as it falls, carving channels in soil, smoothing stone, feeding rivers that will, in time, return to the sea. Over millions of years, these quiet droplets have sculpted mountains, worn down cliffs, and hollowed valleys. The Grand Canyon, the limestone caves, the fertile plains, all are creations of patient rainfall. Even deserts, though they seem dry and still, bear the fingerprints of ancient rains, their sands carved by storms long gone. The earth remembers water the way memory remembers song, not as a static thing, but as rhythm and change. Each raindrop is also a lens, bending light into 1,000 tiny worlds. When the sun breaks through during or after a storm, the air fills with prisms. The droplets refract and reflect sunlight, scattering it into colors red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Together, they form the rainbow, a circle of light so delicate it exists only for the eye that sees it. The rainbow is the visual accent of rain's language, a sentence written in color across the sky. It says, "The storm is passing, the light remains." No matter how many times one has seen it, the sight never loses its quiet magic. Rain does not fall evenly. It travels in patterns of intention, pulled by wind and terrain. Some lands know constant drizzle, others months of dryness broken by brief floods. Yet the total amount of water on Earth never changes. It circulates through endless repetition, evaporating, condensing, raining, flowing. The same molecules fall again and again, returning to places they have visited countless times. The water that slides down your window tonight may once have fallen on ancient forests, on the backs of dinosaurs, on the faces of early humans looking up in wonder. Rain is history made liquid. It is time in motion. For the creatures of the earth, rain is more than weather. It is a signal for life. Frogs sing louder when it begins, their voices rising in chorus from puddles and ponds. Birds fluff their feathers and drink from the droplets that gather on leaves. Insects emerge, sensing the humidity as a sign of safety. Trees draw water into their roots, and the forests exhale a deeper breath. The rain stitches the living world together, linking every being through the shared pulse of moisture. When it stops, the silence that follows feels alive, as if the world were listening to the echo of what has just been said. Humans have always listened to the rain with reverence. In every language, in every age, people have written about it, its calm, its sadness, its renewal. Poets have found in it the voice of reflection, the sound of thought returning to itself. Children dance beneath it. Farmers bless it. Travelers take shelter from it. It falls on everyone equally, rich and poor, awake and asleep, joyful and grieving. It does not choose. Rain is the planet's most impartial kindness, shared freely with all who dwell beneath the open sky. There is something profoundly intimate about lying awake and hearing rain against the window. Each drop seems to speak directly to the listener, repeating the same soft message: you are safe, you are part of this. The sound isolates you from the noise of the world while connecting you to everything beyond it. The steady rhythm slows the heart, invites stillness, and blurs the boundary between thought and dream. This is why rain is the oldest lullaby. It cradles the mind, reminding it of the womb, of rivers, of home. When rain finally ends, the world feels freshly made. Colors return sharper, edges softer. The air is clear and cool, carrying the scent of wet stone and growing things. Leaves gleam with droplets, each one holding a tiny reflection of the sky. The ground is darker, richer, alive again. Birds resume their songs, tentative at first, as if testing the silence. The sun, breaking through the thinning clouds, turns every wet surface to gold. The earth exhales one long sigh, content. Even after the rain stops, it remains with you in puddles, mirroring clouds, in the sound of dripping from eaves, in the hush that lingers like the pause between heartbeats. Somewhere, it is always raining, completing the cycle again. Somewhere, another patch of earth is being washed clean. The planet never ceases its conversation. It merely changes speakers. As you rest now, imagine that rain falling softly around you, gentle, steady, endless. Hear its rhythm as a language older than words, carrying peace down from the clouds. Each drop is a heartbeat, each ripple a breath. You are surrounded by its calm, connected to its continuity. Let it fall. Let it wash away thought and sound. Let it speak to you in the way it has spoken to all life since the beginning, in murmurs of renewal, in the steady kindness of return. The rain is falling still, somewhere far away. It falls through sunlight, through shadow, through time, and as you drift into sleep, its voice follows you, patient, soothing, eternal, the softest language the earth has ever spoken. 14. The memory of mountains. If you stand before a mountain long enough, you begin to feel that it remembers. Its stillness is not the stillness of sleep, but of deep thought, of time stretched beyond human measure. Every ridge, every fold of stone, every scar carved by wind and ice is a page in its diary. The mountain keeps the record of the earth's memory of pressure and patience, of fire and frost, of beginnings older than life itself. To look at a mountain is to look into the slow heart of the planet, where motion becomes form and form becomes silence. Mountains are not born in a moment. They rise through the long labor of the Earth's crust, the drifting of continents, the grinding of plates, the slow push of rock upon rock. Where the planet folds and fractures, stone rises, reaching upward against the pull of gravity. Some mountains grow from ancient volcanoes, where molten earth cooled into hard pillars of basalt and granite. Others formed when the floor of an ocean was lifted into the sky, its seabed becoming a summit, its fossils now resting thousands of feet above sea level. To hold a piece of limestone high in your hand is to hold a fragment of vanished sea, a memory of coral reefs and quiet tides transformed by the weight of time. Once, all mountains were young. They burned with newness, their peaks sharp and untamed, their slopes shedding rivers of molten rock. But the earth softens its own creations. Wind, water, and ice carve them gently, smoothing the fierce angles into curves. Over millions of years, mountains crumble into valleys, and valleys, in turn, may rise again. Nothing remains unchanged. Yet even as they wear down, mountains do not vanish, they transform. Their minerals feed rivers, which nourish plains, which grow forests and cities. In this way, the mountains are the beginning of everything, the high source from which life flows downward. If you could listen to a mountain, you would hear nothing like the rush of water or the hum of air. Its language is silence itself, expressed in shifts too slow for hearing. The earth beneath it creaks with microscopic motion. Stones grind and settle as the crust adjusts. Over eons, entire ranges drift, sinking and rising like waves on a geological sea. The Himalayas, still young in the planet's terms, are growing even now, inch by inch, as India continues to press into Asia. Somewhere far below, pressure builds, and the mountain lifts imperceptibly higher. To human eyes, it seems eternal. But to the earth, it is alive, moving, breathing. The air around mountains is unlike any other air. It is thin and sharp, tasting of distance and purity. With every step upward, the pressure falls, and the body feels lighter yet more aware of its fragility. Breathing becomes deliberate, rhythmic, sacred. The wind grows constant, as if the sky itself is closer and more insistent here. Clouds wrap around the peaks, drifting like thoughts that have taken physical form. From afar, those same peaks glow with changing light blue at dawn, gold at noon, violet at dusk. Each moment, an act of transformation. Mountains do not resist time. They embrace it, changing color and shadow as easily as breath. At night, the stars seem nearer above the summits. Their light, undisturbed by dust or distance, reflects on the snow, turning it silver. The mountain sleeps beneath constellations that have watched it for millions of years, their slow motion across the sky a mirror of its own. In that thin, cold air, silence becomes almost tangible, a fabric draped over the slopes, woven from stillness and frost. The creatures that live there move quietly, shaped by the altitude. Eagles circle soundlessly. Snow leopards tread softly on powder. Even the streams murmur in subdued tones, aware of the vastness that surrounds them. In the mountains, perspective shifts. The human world, the noise of engines, the web of roads, the pulse of hurry seems impossibly small. What remains is the immediate presence of stone, light, and air. Time stretches there, as if the mountain measures it differently. The human heartbeat slows, aligning itself to the deeper rhythm of geological patience. This is why those who climb or wander among peaks often describe not conquest, but communion. The mountain does not yield to willpower, it simply waits, unmoved, and in that waiting, it teaches humility. Every mountain carries within it the story of fire. Deep below, where pressure melts rock into magma, the Earth's energy gathers, rising through fractures to build new land. Some of that fire escapes violently, through volcanoes that erupt with light and ash, reshaping the sky. Others cool in stillness, forming veins of crystal and mineral that shine when broken open. The quartz and obsidian found in mountain stone are the frozen memories of fire heat turned to silence. Even the most tranquil peak once burned. The mountain's calm is not the absence of passion, but the transformation of it. Water remembers the mountain too. Rain falls first on its slopes, collecting into streams that become rivers, carrying minerals and nutrients to faraway fields. Snow gathers at its heights, melting in spring into clear cascades that feed life below. The mountain gives without end, distributing its strength in secret ways. When you drink from a stream, you are drinking the patience of stone, the slow distillation of rain and rock, made pure by height. Each drop has passed through layers of time before reaching your lips. The colors of mountains change with the weather. When clouds settle low, they appear distant and blue, almost weightless. When sunlight breaks through, they glow in bands of gold, gray, and deep green. At sunset, they turn crimson, as if remembering the fire that birthed them. And in winter, when snow covers every ridge, they seem to dissolve into the sky, boundaries erased, matter becoming light. These shifts are not illusion but revelation, the mountain showing that permanence and transformation are one and the same. To the earth, mountains are its memory made visible. They record every tremor, every uplift, every erosion. They are the slow diaries of change. In their stones lie fossils of ancient creatures, imprints of shells that once rested on seafloors, leaves of vanished forests turned to stone. Holding such a fossil in your hand, you touch time itself, the echo of a life that breathed millions of years before the first human word. Mountains hold these memories not to keep them, but to release them slowly, scattering them through rivers, winds, and soil, so that life can remember too. When storms gather around the peaks, lightning dances across their ridges, echoing through canyons. Thunder rolls from slope to slope, reverberating like a drumbeat from the planet's core. The rain that follows runs in silver threads down their faces, tracing ancient paths. Even in violence, there is grace. The mountain receives all things: wind, fire, water, ice, and remains. It endures not by resisting change, but by absorbing it completely. As you close your eyes now, imagine standing at the foot of such a mountain. The air is cool, the ground firm beneath your feet. Somewhere above, the peaks touch the edge of the sky. You feel small, but not diminished. The mountain's vastness does not overwhelm, it steadies. Its silence enters you, matching your breath to its ancient rhythm. Each inhale feels older, each exhale more peaceful. You realize that the mountain's memory is your memory too, that the same atoms in its rocks once flowed through oceans, drifted through air, and rested within you. You are part of its endurance, its transformation, its quiet. The mountain does not hurry, and neither should you. It waits through centuries, unmoved by storms, patient with the winds. It knows that all things rise and fall, and that in the end, every stone returns to sand, every peak to sea. But for now, it stands calm, immense, eternal in its moment. As you drift toward sleep, let that mountain hold you in its stillness. Let its memory wrap around you like a blanket of stone and air. The world turns softly beneath its gaze. The rivers flow. The stars wheel overhead. And the mountain remembers quietly, endlessly, with the patience of time itself. 15. The ocean's pulse. If you listen closely by the shore, past the cry of gulls and the whisper of wind, you can hear the steady breathing of the earth. The waves move in and out, a rhythm as old as the moon, as constant as the heartbeat of time itself. This is the ocean's pulse, the ceaseless motion of water drawn by gravity, stirred by wind, shaped by tides, and stilled only for moments between breaths. It is the sound of the planet remembering itself, the sound of movement without hurry, of eternity disguised as motion. Every tide that rises and falls carries with it the memory of all the tides that came before. The ocean covers more than 2/3 of the Earth, a vast and living mirror of the sky. From space, its color defines the planet, that deep blue shimmer that shifts with sunlight, clouds, and depth. But beneath the surface, the ocean is not empty. It is layered with silence and life, currents and temperature, pressure and light. Near the surface, sunlight scatters into shifting fields of turquoise and gold, feeding drifting gardens of plankton, the microscopic creators that breathe oxygen into the world. Deeper still, where light fades to blue, then to indigo, and finally to black, the water grows cold and heavy. There, in the dark, strange creatures drift like ghosts, fish that glow with their style, own light, jellyfish pulsing like underwater stars, squid moving with a slow grace that seems borrowed from dreams. It is a realm both alien and intimate, for it is from these depths that all life once rose. Every drop of seawater is a story of connection. It contains traces of every river, every rain, every stone that has ever existed. The minerals dissolved within it are the remains of ancient mountains, washed down grain by grain through ages of rain. The salt you taste on your lips by the sea is the flavor of the planet's long memory. It is the same salt that once filled the first oceans billions of years ago, when the Earth was young and restless. Those early waters gave birth to the first cells, small and fragile, yet destined to evolve into every living thing. In a way, the ocean is our first ancestor, the womb of the planet, still carrying within it the chemistry of life's beginning. The movement of the ocean is not random, but rhythmic, guided by forces both near, far. The moon's gravity pulls gently at the water, lifting and lowering it across the globe. Each tide is a reminder of the moon's steady companionship, a silent dialogue between Earth and its only satellite, between mass and motion. When the moon rises, the ocean answers. When the moon retreats, the sea exhales. Their dance has continued unbroken for billions of years, shaping coastlines, guiding migrations, marking the passing of time. The ocean's pulse is also the moon's heartbeat, translated into waves. The surface of the sea is only one layer of its expression. Beneath, vast currents move like arteries, circulating heat and nutrients around the world. Warm water travels from the equator toward the poles, while cold water sinks and returns toward the tropics, completing a cycle that can take centuries. This slow circulation, the great ocean conveyor, is what keeps the planet's climate stable. Without it, the air would stagnate, the seasons would falter, and the Earth would grow unbalanced. Every gentle wave on a beach is part of that larger system, each one a whisper from the deep currents far below. To stand by the ocean is to feel both small and infinite. The horizon stretches endlessly, and yet, Within that vastness, there is peace. The repetition of waves is hypnotic, reminding the body of its own rhythms, heartbeat, breath, thought. The mind quiets to match the sea's cadence. Even the sound of the waves carries a pattern, each crash beginning with a low rush, rising into foam, then retreating in a sigh. It is a lullaby, sung in water, ancient and kind. People have always come to the ocean to listen, to heal, to remember. It has no words, yet it speaks perfectly. Beneath its calm, however, the ocean is alive with motion. Storms stir its surface, winds sculpt its waves, and deep undercurrents shift mountains of sand along the seabed. Even in stillness, it moves. In the black depths, hydrothermal vents spew clouds of minerals and heat, creating oases of life around them. Entire ecosystems thrive in those places, without sunlight, feeding on the chemistry of the earth itself. There, tube worms glow crimson, crabs move through clouds of sulfur, and bacteria weave invisible webs of energy. These creatures, living in a world without light, remind us that life is not fragile, it is adaptable, capable of flourishing in even the most unlikely places. The ocean holds the proof that existence finds a way to continue. Always, at dawn, when the sun touches the horizon, the sea mirrors it in gold and rose. The line between sky and water blurs until it seems there is no difference between above and below. At night, the stars return in reflection, scattered across the black surface as if the universe were doubled. The ocean is the sky's twin, one made of light, the other of depth. When waves break under moonlight, they glitter with bioluminescence, tiny organisms glowing with soft blue fire. To walk along such a shore is to walk through starlight twice, once above, once below. The sound of the sea is not uniform. It changes with the shore. On rocky coasts, waves strike with authority, booming like drums of thunder. On sandy beaches, they roll and sigh, their foam whispering as it retreats. In hidden coves, the sound becomes delicate, the clinking of pebbles, the hush of water folding into itself. Each rhythm is a different voice of the same vast being. The ocean speaks in dialects of distance and depth, and all of them say the same thing. I am moving. I am alive. Sometimes the sea grows violent. Storms rise from its surface. Waves tower. Winds howl across the water. Ships disappear. Coastlines change. And the sky becomes indistinguishable from the waves. Yet even in that fury, there is purpose. The storms redistribute energy, cooling the tropics, feeding the rain. The ocean's violence is part of its healing, its way of keeping balance. And after every storm, calm returns. The surface smooths, the air clears, the sea remembers its rhythm. Nothing is lost, everything transforms. The ocean does not sleep, but it dreams. Its tides are the slow turning of those dreams, washing over shores in cycles of renewal. Every shell, every grain of sand, every polished stone is a fragment of that dream made tangible evidence of time and patience, of endless motion made gentle. To hold a shell is to hold a spiral of geometry shaped by the tides, a small echo of the sea's vast intelligence. The spiral repeats everywhere, in galaxies, in hurricanes, in the curl of a breaking wave. The same pattern that moves the stars moves the water. The ocean is not separate from the cosmos. It is a mirror of its laws. As you rest now, imagine lying at the edge of that great, breathing expanse. The sand cool beneath you, the air filled with salt and mist. Each wave arrives and recedes like a long, soft exhale. The rhythm matches your own, the in and out of your breath, the steady beat of your heart. The planet's pulse, the ocean's pulse, and your pulse align until they are one. You are not beside the sea, you are part of it. The same water that moves the tides moves within you, flowing through veins and thought alike. The ocean's pulse will continue long after this night ends, through dawn and dusk, through seasons and centuries. It will carry ships and clouds, cradle storms and sunlight, whisper to the moon, and sing to the shore. Its motion is endless, its patience immeasurable. Sleep now with its rhythm in your mind. Feel the slow, eternal breathing of the earth. The tide rises, the tide falls, and somewhere deep beneath it all, the ocean dreams vast, calm, and alive. 16. The silence between waves. Between one wave and the next, there is a silence that holds the entire ocean. It is the pause after motion, the calm between pulses, the moment when water seems to forget its own weight. The waves rise and fall endlessly, but that brief stillness between them is what makes their rhythm whole. Without silence, there could be no motion. Without pause, no return. The earth itself breathes in that same pattern: creation and rest, movement and quiet. The silence between waves is the same silence that fills the air between heartbeats, the space between breaths. It is not emptiness, but balance, the gentle resetting of all things before they move again. If you sit beside the sea long enough, you begin to hear this silence. It exists not in the absence of sound, but in the presence of awareness. The crash of the surf is followed by a soft withdrawal, the foam hissing as it slides back across the sand. Then, for just an instant, the air seems to hold its breath. The next wave gathers far out at sea, invisible but inevitable. That moment between them, that calm expectancy, is the ocean's meditation. It is where time slows, where everything waits for the next breath of the world. This rhythm began long before life itself. In the earliest days of the earth, when the seas were young and restless, the first waves formed under alien skies. They were shaped not by the moon, for the moon was still distant then, but by the winds and the heat of a forming planet. Those early tides carved the first lines in the sand, the first whispers of pattern upon chaos. From those waves came the cradle of life, single cells floating, dividing, learning to move with the water's motion. The silence between waves was their first teacher, their first heartbeat. From it came the rhythm that would one day become breath, pulse, thought, and song. Today, the same rhythm continues, unchanged through eons. The wind moves across the surface of the water, transferring its energy, and a wave begins its journey. It travels for miles, gathering height and grace, until it meets the shore and breaks, releasing all that borrowed motion in a brief burst of sound and spray. Then comes the silence, a retreat, a soft exhale, the pause before the next arrival. This is how the world keeps its balance, how it remembers that every surge must be followed by stillness. The tides are its longer breath, but the waves are its smaller ones, the quick and delicate inhalations of the sea. If you were to look beneath the surface, you would see that the water never truly stops. Even in the stillness between waves, currents flow invisibly, particles of sand drift, fish glide, and light dances in soft ribbons. Yet the silence above remains, because movement in one place makes stillness in another. The energy that leaves one wave is already forming the next, the sea folding itself endlessly inward and outward. Nothing is ever lost. The silence is not an ending. It is a transition. It is how the ocean gathers its thoughts. There are places in the world where the silence between waves feels almost sacred. On the shores of remote islands, where no human noise intrudes, you can hear the true rhythm of the planet. The water moves in slow, deliberate patterns, as if speaking to itself. The wind carries no words, only breath. Birds call in the distance, then fall silent again. their voices joining the sea's cadence. In those moments, you can feel the symmetry of all living things, the ocean's waves, the wind in the trees, the beating of your heart, all moving in the same invisible pattern. The silence between waves is the point where those rhythms meet. The tides amplify this pattern, stretching the pauses wider. Twice each day, the ocean withdraws, revealing the glistening floor of the world's shells, stones, and seaweed shining in the sun. For hours, the waves grow smaller, gentler, until they seem to vanish entirely. The air grows still, the horizon bright. This is the great silence of the tide's breath, a global exhalation. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, the water returns. It creeps upward, grain by grain, the faint lapping sound building again into a steady murmur. The silence ends, but it never truly leaves. It lives in the background, a quiet promise that every motion has its moment of peace. In this way, the ocean teaches the same lesson as the heart, that strength is found not only in motion but in rest. The pause between beats is as important as the beat itself. It is where the heart gathers power for the next rhythm. The silence between waves is the heart of the sea's music. Every living creature that depends on the ocean, from coral to whale, lives by that same cadence. Even the largest whales, when they rise to breathe, pause for a moment at the surface, suspended between worlds of water and air. Their great lungs fill, then they descend again, vanishing into the deep. Breath and stillness, sound and silence, life and rest, each follows the same pattern. The sea's silence is also the birthplace of reflection. When the waves calm, the surface becomes glass, and the world above is mirrored in the water below. Mountains, clouds, and stars all find themselves doubled in the ocean's still gaze. It is in this stillness that the planet sees itself most clearly. When the wind ceases and the waves rest, the ocean becomes an eye, vast, patient, awake. Even in darkness, it reflects the faintest light, the shimmer of the moon, the trails of stars. The silence between waves allows the universe to look upon itself. At night, when the tide is gentle, the sea speaks in whispers. The water moves in soft rolls, breaking with a sound more felt than heard. Between each wave lies a pause, long enough for thought to settle, long enough for breath to slow. If you stand there in the dark, you can feel the boundary between self and sea dissolve. Your thoughts begin to move like the water, rising, falling, fading. The mind follows the ocean's rhythm, and in that surrender, there is peace. The silence between waves is the space in which you can hear yourself again. Even the storms, with all their thunder and fury, obey this pattern. The waves rise high. The wind screams. The rain falls in sheets, but no storm can sustain itself forever. Its energy burns out. Its waves flatten. Its roar fades. And then, once again, there is silence, deeper now, richer for what came before. The stillness after a storm is the purest form of calm, a silence that carries the memory of motion. The world breathes again, slowly, gratefully. If you close your eyes and imagine the sea tonight, picture the moment after the wave breaks the retreating foam, the hush that follows, the horizon waiting in patient quiet. Feel that same silence within you, between thoughts, between breaths. It is the same stillness that lives inside every tide, every cloud, every atom. It is the pause that holds the universe together, the space where everything finds its balance before beginning again. As you drift into sleep, let that rhythm carry you. Imagine yourself as the sea. Inhale as the wave rises. Exhale as it falls. Rest in the silence between them. The world outside continues its motion. Winds turning, stars spinning, tides shifting, but within, there is quiet. You are resting in the same stillness that keeps the oceans calm between their endless breaths. The silence between waves is the gentlest gift the earth gives, a reminder that peace is not the absence of motion, but the harmony that exists within it. It is the pause before renewal, the soft heartbeat of the planet. Sleep now in that silence, knowing that the sea will keep breathing for you, forever rising and falling, forever returning to stillness, forever alive. 17. The hidden rivers of air. Though we cannot see them, there are rivers flowing above us at every moment. Vast, invisible streams that cross the planet without banks or beds. They move soundlessly through the sky, carrying moisture, warmth, and breath from one horizon to another. These are the hidden rivers of air, the atmospheric currents that shape our weather, guide our seasons, and cradle life in motion. They are the unseen pulse of the Earth's skin, whispering across mountains, deserts, and seas, uniting everything that breathes beneath them. The air, though weightless to us, is a living ocean, one that carries not only clouds, but memory, song, and the soft fingerprints of all who live within it. Every gust, every gentle breeze, begins as warmth. The sun heats the earth unevenly, blessing one region with fire, while leaving another cool in shadow. Air expands where it warms, becoming lighter, rising upward like breath released from the surface of a pond. Cooler air rushes in to take its place, and so begins the endless circulation, a global dance of ascent and descent, of giving and receiving. What feels like a simple wind brushing your cheek is part of a system that spans the entire planet, moving heat from equator to pole, from ocean to mountain, in a balance that has endured for eons. High above the clouds, far beyond the touch of birds, these movements grow, stronger, faster, more focused. Narrow bands of air jet streams rush through the upper atmosphere, circling the globe at hundreds of miles per hour. They act like invisible highways, steering weather systems and carrying moisture from one continent to another. Without them, the rain would not fall where it does, the winds would not follow their familiar paths, and the delicate rhythm of seasons would lose its coherence. The jet streams are the planet's arteries, pulsing with motion, endlessly reshaping the flow of life below. Closer to the ground, air moves in gentler patterns, breezes that follow the curve of land and sea. During the day, when sunlight warms the shore, air rises and draws cooler wind from the ocean. At night, when the land cools faster than the sea, the pattern reverses. This breathing of the coastlines keeps the world in balance, allowing plants to transpire, clouds to form, and life to thrive. Even the smallest leaf trembles to the rhythm of this global respiration. The hidden rivers of air touch everything, from the highest peaks to the smallest blades of grass, from the stillness of dawn to the last sigh of dusk. If we could make the invisible visible, we would see the air in constant motion, spiraling, weaving, folding around the planet. Dust from the Sahara travels on the wind to fertilize the Amazon rainforest. Sea salt from the Pacific falls as snow in the Arctic. Spores, seeds, and even microscopic life drift across oceans, carried by these unseen currents. The wind is not just air. It is the planet's bloodstream of exchange, connecting places and creatures that have never met. Each breath we take is a mixture of countless journeys. Air exhaled by forests, released by waves, shaped by storms. We live within a single, shared atmosphere, one that remembers everything that has ever breathed. Sometimes, these rivers of air reveal themselves in motion. Watch the clouds on a windy day, and you can see their path traced. In silver and white, wisps of cirrus stretch like brushstrokes across the sky, marking the direction of higher winds. Lower clouds move more slowly, forming layers and patterns that shift with temperature and terrain. Each one tells a story of movement, the merging of ocean vapor with the breath of continents. When the sky darkens and clouds gather into thunderheads, you can almost feel the air tightening, preparing to release its energy as rain or storm. Even in its silence, the air is never still. The atmosphere also sings, though its songs are too low or too soft for human ears. Infrasound vibrations below the range of hearing ripples through it constantly, created by waves crashing, volcanoes erupting, or storms forming far away. Birds and animals can sense these subtle notes, moving in harmony with them. Some species migrate by reading the air's invisible patterns, sensing pressure and direction with exquisite precision. The wind carries their guidance, their instinctual knowledge, like a map written in motion. We, too, respond to it without realizing. A change in air pressure makes our skin prickle, our breathing slow or quicken. The hidden rivers of air touch us in ways beyond thought. The air also carries memory, the faint chemical signatures of everything that happens on Earth. Traces of ancient fires still linger in its depths. The scent of pine forests, ocean salt, volcanic ash, and desert sand mingle in its endless motion. When you inhale, you take in fragments of these journeys, molecules that may have passed through glaciers, across continents, through the lungs of other living beings. In this way, the air binds all of time together. The first breath ever taken by a creature on Earth, and the one you take now, are connected by this continuous, flowing medium. The wind is time itself, moving. At sunset, when the light grows long, the air slows and cools. Winds soften, clouds drift into delicate threads, and the hidden rivers sink closer to the surface. The day exhales. In the stillness that follows, the world feels suspended, wrapped in a gentle calm that belongs only to twilight. You can feel the temperature fall against your skin, a subtle shift, the sky deepening into color. This is the air at rest, not stopped, but waiting. Soon the night will reshape it again, drawing new currents across the sleeping land. The planet never stops breathing, it only changes its tone. In the higher reaches of the atmosphere, where air thins into space, particles of sunlight meet the outer edge of this invisible sea. There, the auroras shimmer luminous curtains of charged air, green and violet, dancing at the poles. They are the outer edge of the Earth's breath, the meeting of solar wind and magnetic field, of starfire and sky. Even here, the hidden rivers of air play their part, shaping the flow of light, turning energy into beauty. The same currents that move clouds over oceans also guide these celestial waves. Everything is connected, from the faintest breeze to the glowing crown of the planet. If you listen now, wherever you are, you can feel the air's presence. It moves softly through rooms and trees, through lungs and thought. It bends around mountains, rushes down valleys, carries scents and seeds and sighs. It cools the skin, lifts the wings of birds, smooths the surface of water. It is invisible, yet it is the most constant companion of every life on Earth. We live within its embrace, shaped by its rhythm, nourished by its patience. As you rest tonight, imagine those hidden rivers moving above you, great tides of air flowing from sea to land, circling the planet in quiet grace. Imagine your own breathing joining theirs, your exhalation rising into the shared current of life. You are part of that movement, as natural and ancient as the wind itself. Each breath connects you to everything that has ever lived, everything that ever will. The air carries the songs of oceans, the dust of deserts, the whispers of forests, and the warmth of sunlight. It flows around you now, calm and steady, speaking in a language older than sound. As you drift into sleep, let it cradle you. Feel it move through you, invisible but eternal. The hidden rivers of air continue their journey, soft, endless and kind, carrying the breath of the world through the silence of night. 18. The drift of clouds. Look upward, and you will see the sky thinking. The clouds are its thoughts, slow, silent, endlessly forming and dissolving. They drift across the air like memories in motion, soft enough to vanish with light, yet strong enough to shape the world below. Every drop of rain, every pattern of shade and wind, begins with these transient bodies of vapor. They are the living breath of the atmosphere, always moving, always changing, never the same twice. To watch them is to watch time unfold without haste, a reminder that beauty often lives in impermanence. Each cloud begins invisibly, as vapor rising from the sea, from rivers, from the faint dampness of leaves. Warm air lifts the moisture upward, carrying it higher and higher until it meets the coolness of the upper sky. There, tiny particles, dust, salt, pollen become centers of transformation. Around them, droplets gather, joining together until the air itself turns white. What was once unseen becomes visible, the first whisper of a cloud forming, the earth's breath caught and made into shape. And yet, no matter how dense it grows, a cloud is mostly empty space, a mist of particles floating in vastness, light enough to be carried by the gentlest wind. There are clouds that soar like mountains, and clouds that skim the edges of the sea. Some stretch thin as silk, high in the stratosphere, where the air is cold and still. Others billow like cotton, gathering in towers that touch the edge of space. Each kind speaks in a different tone. Cirrus clouds, delicate and distant, announce calm. Cumulus clouds, bright and strong, suggest energy rising. Nimbus clouds, heavy with rain, carry promise and release. Together, they form a vocabulary of weather, a language the planet uses to describe its moods. Those who learn to read it can sense the coming of storms or the approach of quiet long before they arrive. Clouds are more than decoration for the sky. They are the caretakers of balance, keeping the Earth's temperature steady by scattering sunlight and trapping warmth. When the day grows too bright, they stretch like veils across the sun, softening its touch. When the night grows too cold, they wrap the world in a blanket of vapor, holding the day's heat close. Through this constant act of giving and withholding, clouds regulate the planet's breath. Without them, the oceans would boil, the forests would dry, and the air itself would forget its rhythm. To see clouds move is to witness a kind of grace that belongs only to nature. They drift without struggle, guided by invisible hands of wind and temperature. From afar, they seem lazy, effortless, yet each one is a delicate equation of physics, the balance of air pressure, heat, and moisture expressed in motion. Even their color tells a story. White clouds scatter all wavelengths of light, glowing in purity. Gray clouds, swollen with water, absorb more light, becoming shadows of their own abundance. And at sunrise and sunset, when the sun's rays travel far through the thickening atmosphere, clouds turn gold, crimson, and violet. In those moments, they are the sky's art, the earth's way of saying farewell to one day and welcome to the next. Sometimes, clouds mirror the land below them. Over deserts, they are sparse and pale, like mirages. Over oceans, they gather in endless formations, reflections of the restless water beneath. Above mountains, they curl into lenticular shapes, smooth and layered like the rings of a tree, marking the invisible waves of air that roll over the peaks. In polar regions, they glow faintly in the long twilight, catching the last light of the sun from beyond the horizon. Each region of the earth has its own style of sky, and the clouds are its handwriting. The life of a cloud is brief but meaningful. It may exist for only minutes before dissolving into blue, or it may travel halfway around the planet before falling as rain. When it releases its burden, the transformation is complete. Droplets fall, merging into streams and rivers, returning to the ocean from which they came. The cycle continues, water rising and falling endlessly, cloud to rain, rain to river, river to sea. In this way, the clouds are not separate from the earth, but part of its circulation. They are the visible moments in the long journey of water, the fleeting forms of something eternal. From above, as seen by those who have flown beyond the clouds, their tops appear like endless fields of snow. They stretch to the horizon, pure and bright, reflecting sunlight into space. Between them lie shadows that move like living shapes across the surface of the world. To be among clouds is to feel suspended between heaven and earth, between form and formlessness. The light there is different, soft, diffuse, free of edges. It has no source and no direction. Everything glows evenly, as though the sky itself were breathing light. At night, when the stars are hidden, clouds carry a gentler kind of beauty. They catch the glow of the moon and reflect it downward, turning the world silver. In cities, they borrow the colors of human light, amber, rose, faint electric blue, and weave them into the night sky. When lightning passes through them, they flash briefly from within, glowing like lanterns of vapor. Even when unseen, they shape the tone of the night, thickening the silence, softening the air. The oldest clouds form in places where few eyes can see them, high in the polar stratosphere. Made of ice crystals that shimmer like glass, they are rare and delicate, appearing only when the air grows cold enough for sunlight itself to crystallize. These are noctilucent clouds, luminous against the deep twilight. They are among the highest expressions of the atmosphere's imagination, glowing where day and night meet. Watching them, one senses that even the sky has dreams. Clouds also speak to the imagination within us. As children, we look up and see shapes, animals, faces, islands, stories drifting overhead. In truth, the mind and the sky share the same nature. Both are spacious, both constantly changing. Thoughts form and dissolve like clouds. Emotions gather, pour, and clear again. To observe the sky is to observe consciousness itself, infinite, open, transforming moment by moment. The drift of clouds is the mirror of thought's own movement, the visual poetry of impermanence. If you find yourself beneath a quiet sky, take a moment to watch the clouds. Let your eyes soften. Notice how slowly they move, how they change without effort. Feel how your breath begins to match their pace. Inhale as they rise, exhale as they drift apart. The sky is reminding you that change is not loss, that movement can be peace. Clouds pass, but the sky remains. Thoughts pass, but awareness stays. Everything you have ever loved or feared moves through this same vastness, this same endless openness that never clings to what it holds. And as night comes, the last light fading from their edges, the clouds thin and disappear, leaving only stars. Yet even then, they are still there, invisible in the darkness, carrying their moisture and motion across the sleeping world. The air above you continues its slow drift, gentle and unbroken. The planet keeps breathing. The sky keeps thinking. So as you rest tonight, imagine those clouds drifting far overhead, soft, luminous, timeless. They are the breath of the oceans, the imagination of the air, the dreams of water made visible. Let their movement guide your thoughts, slow and fluid, dissolving gently into silence. You are part of their pattern, your breath rising and falling with theirs. Sleep now beneath their unseen shapes, beneath the vast mind of the sky. The clouds will continue to drift, endlessly forming, endlessly fading, whispering to the earth below in their quiet language of motion and light. 19. The sleep of stones. There is a stillness in stone that feels deeper than time itself. Long before the forests grew, or the oceans found their basins, the rocks were here, silent witnesses to the planet's birth. Every grain of sand, every mountain, every pebble by a stream is a piece of the Earth's ancient memory, cooled from fire and shaped by pressure into the forms we see now. Stones do not hurry, they do not strive, they endure. Their slowness is not laziness, but devotion, a patient acceptance of all that changes around them. To hold a stone in your hand is to touch something that has slept through the rise of continents and the passing of stars. Deep beneath the surface, far from the reach of light, stones are born in heat. The Earth's mantle, molten and restless, churns and folds until, at certain points, pressure pushes molten rock upward. When it cools, it hardens into igneous stone, granite, basalt, obsidian, each with its own texture and hue. Some remain deep below, locked within mountains for eons, while others break free, lifted by tectonic forces or sculpted by erosion into new forms. From that fiery beginning, the life of a stone begins not in years or centuries, but in the long, patient rhythm of geologic time. Above ground, wind and rain carve the surfaces of stone. Water seeps into cracks, freezes, and expands, breaking boulders into fragments. The sun heats and cools them until they crumble further, becoming pebbles, then sand. The river carries these particles onward, rolling them smooth. Eventually, the grains settle again, layer upon layer, compacting into sedimentary rock. In this way, stone never truly sleeps, it transforms, constantly remade through cycles too vast for the human mind to hold. What seems unmoving is actually flowing, just more slowly than water or wind, shaped by patience rather than speed. If you walk along a riverbed or a quiet shore, notice the stones beneath your feet. Some are dark and heavy, others pale and porous. Each carries a story, perhaps once part of a mountain, or a bed of coral, or the cooled heart of a volcano. Their surfaces are maps of memory, etched by time, by the slow motion of water and sand. Some have been polished smooth by countless seasons of flow. Others still bear the sharp edges of their birth. Together, they form a kind of mosaic of the Earth's past, fragments of the planet's autobiography written in silence. Stones are the architects of landscape. They hold the shape of the world in their slow assembly, cliffs rising from the sea, arches carved by wind, canyons deepened by rivers. Even soil, from which all plants grow, begins as stone ground fine. Every forest, every field, every flower owes its existence to the quiet decay of rock. The earth feeds itself from its own bones. When rain falls, it dissolves minerals from the surface of stone, carrying them into the roots of plants and the bodies of creatures. The iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the salt in our tears, all were once part of stone. We are, in a sense, the living dust of mountains. There is also music in stone, though we rarely hear it. When the wind passes over a desert plain, it hums against the edges of rock formations, creating low tones that vibrate through the air. In caves, water dripping over centuries builds columns of limestone that resonate when touched. Even earthquakes, the deep shifting of the Earth's crust, are the heartbeat of stone. These sounds are slower and deeper than the frequencies our ears can easily detect, but they exist nonetheless, murmuring below the threshold of hearing. If we could listen with more than our ears, we would hear the entire planet singing in stone. In many cultures, stones have been seen as sacred, not because they move or speak, but because they endure. Ancient people built temples and circles from them, aligning them with the stars, seeking permanence in a world that changes. They carved symbols into rock faces, trusting that their messages would outlive wind and rain. Even now, gravestones mark our memories, their stillness serving as witness. Stone does not forget, though it speaks only in patience. When you touch a stone that has been warmed by the sun, you are feeling the slow exchange of energy between heaven and earth. The rock absorbs light, holds it, then releases it back into the air as warmth. This transfer happens constantly, on every scale, in pebbles by a path, in cliffs along the sea, in the molten core beneath our feet. The world is in perpetual conversation with itself through stone, energy flowing from light to solid, from heat to air, from motion to rest. Over time, even the hardest stone yields. Mountains crumble into dust, cliffs erode into beaches. Yet, in this softening, there is no loss, only transformation. The dust returns to soil. The soil feeds plants. The plants feed life. And the minerals that once formed the spine of a mountain find their way into bloodstreams and bones. One day, they will return to stone again, completing the circle. The mountain never dies. It changes shape and name, dissolving into the living world it once supported. In the stillness of night, if you lie on the ground and listen, you can almost sense the slow, patient life of stone beneath you. The earth moves fractionally, expanding and contracting with heat and cold. Beneath the crust, tectonic plates shift in imperceptible motion, grinding and sighing against one another. These sounds are ancient beyond imagining. Every tremor, every vibration, is part of the planet's breathing so slow we mistake it for silence. The stones beneath your bed, your city, your feet have been here long before you, and they will remain long after. Their rest is not sleep as we know it, but a deep, dreamless continuity. Sometimes, in the high desert or along remote cliffs, you can feel a kind of presence in the rocks, an awareness without thought, a calm that asks nothing and offers everything. It is the wisdom of stillness, the knowing that to endure is enough. Stones do not resist time, they invite it. They do not fear erosion, they welcome it as part of their purpose. In their simplicity, they remind us of our own cycles, that every change, no matter how slow or sudden, is part of something greater. As you drift toward rest, imagine the stones beneath the earth's surface, resting in quiet darkness. Picture their weight, their coolness, their slow rearrangement. The mountains above them breathe through snow and wind, and deep below, the rocks remain patient, steady, enduring. Let that steadiness become your own. Feel the solidity of the ground beneath you, the ancient strength that has held life since the beginning. In this moment, you are not separate from that stone. Your heartbeat, your warmth, your breath, all are borrowed from the same earth that shaped the rocks. The silence you feel between thoughts is the same silence that fills the canyons, the same quiet that lives inside the mountain. It is the sleep of stone, still, eternal, content to exist. Let that stillness settle in you now. Feel the weight of rest, the deep calm of matter remembering itself. You are lying upon the body of the world, and it holds you gently. The stones beneath are sleeping, and in their dream, everything is peaceful. Sleep with them, now slow, steady, endless in the patient rhythm of the earth. 20. The stillness of the earth. At last, we come to stillness, the quiet that lies beneath every sound, every breath, every wave. It is not the silence of emptiness, but of completion. Beneath the winds and rivers, beneath the forests and cities, beneath all the motion of the living world, the earth rests in calm. Its core turns slowly, its crust shifts with patience. But the deeper truth of the planet is serenity. It is the silence that holds everything, the foundation that does not ask for praise or recognition. It simply is, and in that being, the earth becomes our greatest teacher, showing us how to rest without ceasing to live. Stillness is not the absence of movement. Even now, the continents drift a few centimeters each year, The tides rise and fall, and the air continues its endless circulation. Yet below all of this motion, there is an abiding equilibrium. The planet has found its rhythm, its balance between fire and frost, between motion and form. The ground beneath us carries that peace within it. Each grain of soil, each fragment of rock, each root threading through the dark, is part of a vast body held in quiet harmony. When you stand, barefoot on the earth, you feel not only the coolness of the ground, but the patience of eons pressing upward to meet you. There are moments when the stillness becomes visible at dawn, when mist drifts over sleeping fields, at dusk, when the last light folds itself into the horizon, or in the moments between wind, when even the leaves seem to pause their trembling. In those moments, the world seems to stop breathing, and yet everything continues. Birds balance on branches, waves hesitate before breaking, and shadows stretch quietly across the ground. This is the heartbeat of stillness, slow, steady, and full of life. The stillness of the earth is the reason everything else can move. Without its quiet gravity, the atmosphere would drift away, the oceans would lose their shape, and the moon would spin free. Every act of motion, from the flight of an insect to the orbit of a planet, depends on something still at its center. The Earth's calm core holds the dance of the cosmos, together. In the same way, your own stillness, the quiet center within you, anchors your thoughts and feelings, allowing them to flow without chaos. The planet teaches through example. Stillness is not a lack of life, but the ground upon which life grows. If you have ever stood in a vast open place, a desert, a tundra, a field beneath a silent sky, you have felt the deep peace that radiates from the land. The silence there is not empty. It hums softly with unseen life. Tiny insects move among grains of sand. Roots reach downward, invisible but tireless. The air shimmers with warmth and distance. The stillness of such places does not erase motion. It absorbs it, blending every sound and gesture into a single unified quiet. The earth listens, and in its listening, it heals itself. In the mountains, that stillness takes on weight. You can feel it pressing against your chest, vast and unwavering. In forests, it is a softer, quiet, layered with birdsong and wind, yet deeply calm beneath it all. In the deep ocean, stillness is dense, surrounding everything with slow, deliberate movement. Each environment has its own version of silence, and together they form the symphony of the planet's rest. The stillness of the earth is not one note, but countless harmonies overlapping the quiet of stone, of water, of leaf, of air. The soil itself is a slow miracle. Within it, countless microorganisms work in silence, turning decay into nourishment, transforming fallen leaves and rain into new life. It is the earth's most secret alchemy creation, disguised as stillness. The surface may look unchanged, but beneath it, everything is busy with renewal. Seeds split open in the dark, fungi spread in delicate threads, roots exchange messages through networks of unseen life. The stillness of soil is deceptive. It is a sanctuary of transformation. Even death is part of this stillness. When living things return to the earth, they do not vanish. They join the quiet rhythm of decay and rebirth. The ground receives them gently, breaking them down and folding them into the cycle once more. The bones of ancient animals, the fallen leaves of past forests, the remnants of long-forgotten civilizations, all rest together beneath our feet, their forms dissolved into continuity. In this way, stillness is not the end of movement, but its completion, the point at which everything returns to unity. There are places where the earth's stillness feels infinite, deep caves where no light enters, the seabed beneath miles of water, the frozen heart of glaciers. In these places, time moves differently. A drop of water may take centuries to fall. A current of air may remain trapped for millennia. Yet even there, life persists, slow, patient, waiting. The planet never truly stops. It only changes its pace. The stillness of the earth is the long breath between ages. To listen to the earth's stillness is to remember that you, too, are part of it. Your body is built from its minerals, your blood from its waters, your breath from its air. The same elements that form mountains and rivers flow within you. When you rest, the planet rests with you. When you breathe deeply, you echo the expansion and contraction of its tides. You are not separate from its stillness. You are its expression in human form. Sometimes, in the rush of thought and sound, it can be difficult to feel that connection. The world of noise seems louder than the quiet beneath it. But if you pause, if you let the noise pass like waves above deep water, you will find that the silence remains. It has always been there, waiting. It is in the spaces between heartbeats, in the pause before a thought becomes a word, in the still moment after the wind stops. That is the earth's voice within you, calling you back to balance. At night, when the stars spread across the sky and the world cools into darkness, the stillness becomes vast. The air softens, the insects quiet. Even the distant hum of human life fades until only the faint whisper of the wind remains. It is in this quiet that the planet seems most alive, its slow breathing unbroken by day's demands. The ground beneath you holds warmth from the sun. The air carries scents of stone and soil, and above you, the universe watches in silence. The earth rests in its orbit, suspended in the endless calm of space, moving at unimaginable speed, yet utterly serene. As you lie here now, let that stillness rise through you. Feel it in your muscles, your heartbeat, your breath. Let your thoughts slow until they match the pace of the earth turning beneath you. So slowly you cannot feel it, yet steady beyond measure. The stillness of the planet is holding you, cradling you in its vast calm. You do not need to seek peace. It is already here, all around and within. The same stillness that holds mountains and oceans holds you too. And when sleep comes, think of the earth turning quietly through space. No sound, no haste, just the endless grace of motion within stillness. You are part of that turning. You are part of that peace. Let it carry you now, softly, endlessly, into rest. The stillness of the earth welcomes you home.